City Council meet on Thursday, March 25th, 2021 at 7 p.m. remotely to hold regular meeting for the purpose of discussing any and all business pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order, suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law Journal, Chapter 38, Section 20, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Salem City Council will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the city's website at salem.com. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we'll post on the city's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch, listen, or provide comment, if applicable during the meeting, may do so in the following manner. Click on the link as provided on the agenda to join the Zoom webinar. You can also go to zoom.us/join. Enter webinar ID 831-1814-6378, followed by the password as provided in the agenda. Members of the public can dial in toll-free number at 877-853-5257 or 888-475-4499. When prompted, enter webinar ID 831-1814-6378 and follow instructions to join the meeting. For those dialing in, you may press *9 to raise your hand to speak if signed up for public testimony or to participate in the public hearing portion of the agenda if applicable. This meeting is being broadcast live on SATV on channel 22. Members of the public wishing to speak on the agenda items must follow the how to sign up for public testimony outlined in the agenda. And that also applies to members of the public wishing to speak during hearings designated as public hearings in the agenda. Regular meeting of the City Council being held remotely on Thursday, March 25th, 2021 at 7 p.m. for the purpose of transacting any and all business. Notice of this meeting was posted on March 23rd, 2021 at 9:55 a.m. This meeting is being recorded and is live on SATV. Councilors absent, none. Council President Madore presided. Councilor Hapworth moves to dispense with the reading of the record of the previous meeting. All those in favor? I see 11 hands. All those opposed? Seeing none, the matter carries. President Madore requests that everyone rise to recite the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Councilor Riccardi.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Public testimony, we have 7 members of the public signed up. I believe one has been emailed in. And for the rest who are going to be speaking this evening, I ask that you limit your testimony to 1.5 minutes, and I will be timing you. Starting off with Flora Tontat from 30 Northeast Street. I will read her testimony into the record since she is getting vaccinated tonight. Council President Madore, thank you, Council President Madore, for bringing this resolution forward. Oh, she is speaking on the resolution regarding Asian American and Pacific Islanders. Okay. Thank you, Council President Madore, for bringing this resolution forward. I support and echo the sentiments. As so much has come out in the media about AAPI, I see my own immigration story in theirs. My family left Kowloon when I was 8 years old to build a better life. They worked hard to give us better educational opportunities. We never expected so much prejudice and discrimination. Since Trump and his supporters scapegoated AAPI, specifically Chinese, with regard to COVID-19, the amount of attacks against the AAPI community has grown exponentially. This past summer, while I was waiting for my daughter in my car outside the post office, a group of white men and women sitting across the street around the flagpole started yelling racial slurs at me. That was the first time I've experienced this in the 30 plus years I have lived in the North Shore. I want to juxtapose that experience with the recent experience after the Atlanta shooting. Conservative white neighbors who I have worked with on neighborhood issues expressed concern for my safety. One offered his home as shelter if I'm ever attacked while working on my traffic islands near his home. I'm grateful, but I should not have to live in fear of my own neighborhood, walking down the street or going shopping. We must stand up for each other. Things left to themselves won't just get better, they usually deteriorate. We must make it better together. Thank you. Flora Tontad. Thank you, Flora. We greatly appreciate you writing us and sharing your experience. Next, we have Steve Kapantis.
Steve, I unmuted you. If you'd like to state your name and address for the record, please.
Steve Kapantis, 23 Wisteria Street, Salem, Mass. I'm talking tonight about the resolution being put forth for the mayor regarding public participation remotely in meetings. It was probably 15, 16 months ago when I started going to meetings and broadcasting them and was surprised that they would get views of 1,500, 2,000 views. Since then, we've had COVID. Most of the meetings have been on Zoom. And I think everyone knows that the public participation has increased significantly. I ask that the city continue with this, not just by asking the state, but let's get all the boards broadcasting. A little disappointed tonight that I don't see the live broadcast on Facebook, but so be it. And I look forward to the city becoming more open and transparent. The last thing is I think we need to consider changing the time limits. 90 seconds is tough now that we have a lot more participation. I think this board should look at changing that 15-minute time frame to about 30 minutes at the opening of council. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. We really appreciate you coming out and making the time to provide testimony. Next, we have Stacia Kraft. Do we have Ms. Kraft? Oh.
I unmuted you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, Stacia Kraft, 140 Federal Street. And I want to speak about the temporary moratorium on reviewing projects in the floodplains and wetland buffer zone. During the Overlook Acres proposal intended for the wetland buffer zone, and when faced with other proposals on Franklin Street and throughout Salem, the Conservation Commission and Planning Board voiced the need for stronger laws protecting our floodplains and wetlands so they could do their job. Thankfully, Councilor Marcillo took up the cause in September, and Steve Kapantis and I supported her efforts by initiating a petition that has to date received nearly 2,000 signatures. However, we still don't have a new ordinance. It takes time. But there have been maybe 6 new proposals since September, since Councilor Marcillo has taken this project under her wing. If we truly believe in the importance of writing a strong ordinance, it seems like common sense to me to say that we should not review any new projects until the ordinance is finished. Otherwise, it looks to many of us like political theater. I'm willing to believe that amending the ordinance takes a long time, but this vote tonight will separate who the real environmentalists are and who are really concerned about getting the ordinance done. Why in the world would we continue to entertain projects in our flood zones and wetlands when we know we need an updated ordinance? I would like to thank Councilor Marcillo, the Conservation Commission Planning Board, and Councilor Dominguez and Dibble for the work they're doing to get this right. Please support their efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kraft, for taking the time to come out and share your testimony. Next, we have Jeff Cohen.
Jeff, you can unmute yourself and state your name and address, please.
Jeff Cohen, 12 Hancock Street in Salem. Thank you, Council President, for your resolution on AAPI. I was a victim of a hate crime in Salem in 2011, something I thought happened to other people. The person pled guilty to 2 felonies, including a hate crime. I'm not afraid, partially because of people like Councilor Przanowski, who took on my case, and partially because most people don't know me enough. I can walk down the street, who knows I'm Jewish. However, if you're trans and or a POC, Black, Latinx, Asian, the fear you internalize is always there. I always push back when others are surprised that this thing happens here. And this is not something that just showed up. Jose Antonio Vargas said, if we dare do it, if we dare to truly define an inclusive America, we can dismantle the hurtful, dehumanizing things in history. Thank you, Council President, for standing up for your family and friends and for all those in Salem who may not be able to speak up for themselves. I won't be a bystander. It's up to people like me to make sure this community is safe for you and your family. It's important that someday you feel you can depend on us. Prejudice doesn't happen somewhere else. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. We grateful for you taking the time to come out this evening. Next, we have Bart Hoskins.
Mr. Hoskins, you want to unmute yourself and state your name and address for the record, please.
Bart Hoskins, 22 Larchmont Road. I'm speaking about the moratorium on considering new construction in wetlands and floodplains. Just a point of clarification, I wanted to make sure everyone understands that we don't currently build in wetlands. We don't allow building in wetlands. My understanding is that the working group trying to amend our ordinances to provide better protection for wetlands is working on the difficulty we have with buffer zones to wetlands. So I think it's just a matter of, accuracy in the wording of the proposed moratorium. There seems to be a problem there because it implies that we're allowing building in wetlands. I think we're going to find that the coastal regulations and building in the floodplains, it's going to be complicated. I think September 21st might be rather optimistic for both figuring out how best to protect those resources and getting new ordinances passed. But I think it's great to have a goal. So that's my comment on this. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Hoskins. We appreciate you taking the time to come out tonight. Just reset my clock. Next, we have Farah Wolfson.
All right, Farah, if you can unmute yourself and name and address for the record, please.
Yes, thank you. My name is Farah Wolfson, and I am at 25 Pickman Road in Salem. And I wanted to thank you. Tonight I'm speaking as co-chair of Voices Against Injustice, and wanted to thank you, Council President Madore, and members of the City Council. Voices Against Injustice is in full support of the resolution condemning acts of hate and violence against the AAPI community. Like many others, we continue to mourn with all those feeling a profound sense of loss and anger following the murders in Atlanta. We stand in solidarity with members of the AAPI communities, centering those members who have felt this pain most directly. Voices Against Injustice condemns the violence that occurred in Atlanta and the hatred, racism, misogyny, and xenophobia at its root, inflamed by hateful messages and racist rhetoric that went unchecked. As an organization focused on the lessons and legacy of the Salem witch trials, we know all too well the cost of silence. We also recognize the need to be vigilant, because as this resolution begins to elucidate, anti-Asian hate and scapegoating is not new in this country. We can't look away. We have to break this cycle. The escalating violence directed towards Asians, Asian Americans, and Pacific Islanders is horrifying, and it must end. We, as members of the board, pledge our support, solidarity, and ongoing commitment to act. We are in full support of this resolution, and read it also to mean that the members of the Salem City Council will themselves condemn anti-Asian bias, review their practices that may create barriers or contribute to systemic racism, and see how they as a governing body can actively create a more welcoming, inclusive, and anti-racist community, and encourage others to do the same. We as individuals and as an organization pledge to do our part. We live in a community forever linked to a history that heralds the danger of silence and inaction. We in Salem should know better and therefore we in Salem should always strive to do better. On behalf of the Voices Against Injustice Board, we thank you for taking a stand and resolving to act.
Thank you, Ms. Wolfson, for sharing that testimony on behalf of the organization. Greatly appreciate you taking the time. And finally, we have Darlene Millis.
Darlene, if you can unmute yourself and name and address for the record, please.
Yes. Darlene Mellis, Chair of the Salem Tree Commission, 115 Federal Street. I'm speaking up on behalf of the Greening of the Gateway Cities program, which will be coming up under the subcommittee reports for the Committee on Public Health and Safety and Environment that met this past Monday night. This program was announced by the mayor and the governor and the lieutenant governor, and it's a statement that's up on your own website. It's going to be scattered along a lot of different websites. The point is that 2,000 trees are going to be available to our private property owners. And by that, I mean commercial property owners and business property owners as well. And the idea is that the Department of Conservation and Recreation foresters will meet with anybody who is within the designated areas and help them select a tree for their property. And they will plant it for you. So you have the benefit of a personal consultation in order to help bring down the temperature in your immediate neighborhood, to bring down buffeting winds that make winter around here so uncomfortable. But basically, this is a program that has the benefit of 14 other communities having come before us. And so we now have the benefit of Barbara Warren as the executive director of Salem Coast Watch as our nonprofit partner who will be doing our community outreach. One of the things that's going to be coming up is that there will be a direct mailing to property owners that are within the planting area, and to help open this thought process. It is very difficult to get people who are not accustomed to raking up after trees to actually embrace the idea that they're doing something in the world of conservation by that very simple act of hosting a tree. So next week, there will be links to this program on the Tree Commission website, and I will stay on the meeting if you have any questions that I can assist you with at the end of tonight's meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Bellis, for taking the time to come out. We appreciate hearing about the good news. Next, hearings.
We have continued from the February 11th, 2021 meeting, the order from Verizon Wireless to install a telecommunications on Bridge Street.
Any members of
It's
the,
just going to go to the action with Councilor Ricardo.
okay, that's what I thought. Okay, Councilor Ricardo.
I mean, I guess you can find out if anybody was here for it, but,
I see one hand raised. I'm not sure if we should.
okay, that's fine.
Members of the public appearing or members of the council would like to speak in favor.
Mr. Cody, if you're here to speak on the hearing, I unmuted you. If you can unmute yourself to state your name and address for the record.
Hi, yeah, this is Thomas Cody from Memorial Drive in Salem. I was actually hoping to comment earlier before you moved on, if it's still okay to do that.
Unfortunately, Mr. Cody, the public testimony section requires advanced sign up. So this portion is a public hearing for a Verizon Wireless to install a telecommunications device on Bridge Street. So I'm
Okay. All right. I thank you, Madam President. I had some trouble trying to sign up earlier for that, but I'll catch you next time. Thank you.
Feel free to email us or the city clerk.
Okay. Will do.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone appearing or speaking in opposition? Seeing none, Councilor Riccardi.
Thank you, Madam President. I move to keep the public hearing open until May 13th, 2021, due to meeting conflicts with the Design Review Board by roll call vote.
Councilor Riccardi moves to keep the public hearing open. Under discussion?
Thank you, Madam President. Yeah, the previous meeting, we carried this over until the March 25th, 2021 meeting. So the design review board could review the application for the post and have conversations with Verizon. That meeting did happen, and their design review board meeting was also continued until a meeting that I believe is scheduled in April, end of April. So they requested that this stay open until that meeting occurs and Verizon can do their adequate research needed for alternative locations.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Torrio,
Yes.
Council Sargent,
Yes.
Council Riccardi,
Yes.
Council Prezinski,
Yes.
Council Marcillo,
Yes.
Council McCarthy,
Yes.
Council Hapworth,
Yes.
Council Flynn,
Yes.
Council Dominguez,
Yes.
Council Dibble,
Yes.
and Council Madore.
Yes. On the matter of the Verizon Wireless to install telecommunications on Bridge Street, to keep the public hearing open until May 13th, 2021, we have 11 councilors voting, 11 affirmative, none negative, the matter carries. Appointments and reappointments.
With the mayor's reappointment of Felipe Zambolini to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board with a term to expire March 25th, 2022.
Council McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for confirmation by roll call vote.
Council McCarthy moves for confirmation by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to thank Felipe for wanting to continue to serve in this capacity. Being a recent father, I give him all the credit in the world with a newborn at home to continue to serve his community, and he does a nice job on the board, and I'm happy to that he is willing to continue.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to echo Councilor McCarthy's comments. Felipe is an excellent advocate for affordable housing, but also just a great advocate for that neighborhood in general. So we really appreciate his continued willingness to serve.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam President, please call the roll.
I got promoted. Council Torrio,
Yes.
Council Sargent,
Yes.
Council Riccardi,
Yes.
Council Prezinski,
Yes.
Council Marcillo,
Yes.
Council McCarthy,
Yes.
Council Hapworth,
Yes.
Council Flynn,
Yes.
Council Dominguez,
Yes.
Council Dibble,
Yes.
and Council Madore.
Yes. On the matter of reappointment of Felipe Zambolini to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board, we have 11 councilors voting, 11 affirmative, none negative. The matter carries. Communications from the mayor.
We have the following money matters. We have an order for $350,000 to be appropriated from free cash to the Retirement Stabilization Fund. We have an order in the amount of $216,688.26 for 3 retirements from the fire department. We have an order that the sum of $13,000 from the receipts reserve funds from sale of lots to GPS burial account. And we also have an order for the sum of $8,110 to be appropriated from receipts reserve for appropriation to be transferred to Park and Rec for the purchase of a pack van storage container for small equipment for the golf course.
Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Terrio moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I also move for adoption by roll call vote.
Councilor Terrio moves for adoption by roll call vote. Any discussion?
Thank you, Madam President. These are some fairly routine municipal expenses. The only one that's really anything unique is purchasing a storage container at the golf course for some of their equipment. And also just to recognize here that we're putting some money over in the Retirement Stabilization Fund, and I believe the Councilor Flynn has recused himself on this matter as well. But this is for, we have our just retired fire chief and 2 of our senior firefighters who've also retired. And this appropriation is primarily to take care of that. So Chief Junta, and who will be spoken about later in the meeting, and Mr. Cohen and Mr. Leonard are all departed. So we wish them very well.
Thank you. Any further discussion on any of the four matters? Let the record reflect that Councillor Flynn has recused himself. Seeing none, Madam C. Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Torio,
Yes.
Council Sargent,
Yes.
Council Riccardi,
Yes.
Council Presnewski,
Yes.
Council Marcello,
Yes.
Council McCarthy,
Yes.
Council Hapworth,
Yes.
Council Dominguez,
Yes.
Council Dibble,
Yes.
and Council Madore.
Yes.
On the four money matters, we have 10 councilors voting, 10 affirmative, 1 recused, matters carry. Further communications from the mayor. Let the record reflect that Councillor Flynn has rejoined us.
We have an order that the sum of $175,000 is hereby appropriated and transferred from capital outlay to the short-term CIP parking garage equipment for garage equipment in accordance with her order, Mayor.
Councillor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councillor Terrio moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councillor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I would move for adoption on this matter.
Councillor Terrio moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. If you read the packet, this is for security upgrades primarily and repairs to the South Harbor Garage. As is mentioned, again, as is mentioned within the documentation, we have been having issues there with vandalism and some issues with behavior of some of the homeless population that has been using the facility. And this is intended to give the parking department and the police some eyes and ears in the building and allow them to better respond to issues there and be able to just more quickly get to it and deal with anything comes up. So this will, there, as mentioned here also, this will also increase the security and comfort of users who are using the garage because there are problems going on there. And we will have security cameras in the fiscal year 22 budget request to do for the Museum Place garage. That'll be part of the next phase of the upgrades to it.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Torio,
Yes.
Council Sargent,
Yes.
Council Riccardi,
Yes.
Council Presnewski,
Yes.
Council Marcello,
Yes.
Council McCarthy,
Yes.
Council Hapworth,
Yes.
Council Flynn,
Yes.
Council Dominguez,
Yes.
Council Dibble,
Yes.
and Council Madore.
Yes. On the matter of the appropriation for the South Harbor parking garage, we have 11 councilors voting, 11 affirmative, 9 negative, the matter carries. Further communication from the mayor.
We have an order that the sum of $50,000 be appropriated from capital outlay to the short-term CIP bike share to supplement bike share program equipment.
Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Terrio moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I would also move for adoption.
Councilor Terrio moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. So as most of you are probably aware, I would just assume all of you are aware, Zagster failed late in the season last year, just as the spring was starting. Personally, we've had many discussions over things. The bike share program that we ran in Salem was quite successful. The scooter sharing program that they experimented with, I would say not so much. But so what we have done after working on this for most of the last year is we are anticipating joining the Blue Bike system, which is very successful in the Metro Boston and Cambridge areas and some other communities. And this kind of takes our bike sharing system and makes it part of a larger network, which is going to be certainly a positive in terms of bike use between towns, bike maintenance. The Blue Bikes program has been very well managed and very well run in the Metro Boston area, and putting Salem in the system is a big positive. The majority of this money is through state grants and corporate assistance, and this is essentially the rest of our share of the startup costs. So this helps pay for the bike stations that will go around the city and the bikes to equip them. And hopefully this will grow and do even better than the Zagster system did.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President. I have some reservations on this, just the sheer outright cost. I think it's a great program, allowing these bikes to be located throughout the area. I see on the list that Salem State, who participates in this program and is one of the biggest users by far in the last 3 years with Zagster, is missing from contributing to this. So that's an issue. But whereas the city of Salem is buying these bikes this time at a cost of $320,000 from the pool of money coming from all different directions. I know we're only appropriating $50,000 here tonight, but he's in.
Uh-oh. Councillor Dibble.
Yeah, to speak.
He's reconnecting.
Oh, you're back.
I don't know how that happened. I didn't touch a single button, Madam President. I apologize.
It probably happened because you didn't touch a single button.
Yeah, that's funny, Counselor.
If you want to continue.
Yeah, I apologize. That was weird. I'm talking to a blank screen all of a sudden. Anyway, with 50 bikes, the $320,000 for the total program for this year is substantial. That's $6,400 per bike with the stand. That's a whole lot of money per bicycle. And I'm curious, this is a private company that we're contracting with.
Mm-hmm.
Who makes the money? Who makes the profit on each of these bikes? How much, in all the mayor's documentation here, there's no documentation on how much money will be coming or what percentage will be coming back to the city of Salem. This is a huge $6,400 per bike is a tremendous amount of money that we're spending here. Somebody's making a lot of money. I want to make sure that Salem is getting back their share from the rental of these bikes. Otherwise, it should be all on the bike company to pay for everything, and then they keep the money. I'm happy to go along with that. So I'd like to see this go to committee, Madam President.
So before we take action on the motion, I'll address a couple of these, but certainly not all of them. So if you're familiar with the Blue Bikes program in other communities, the bike rental stations are not just simple, they're not just simple stands like that we have, like we're used to from the Zagster program. The stands that are used actually have the smarts to dispatch the bikes and meters and all the like. It's more complicated equipment that's used in the Blue Bikes program. So my presumption there, and I'm certainly welcome to get those specifics in committee if that's the will of the body, but the biggest difference is that though the bikes are only marginally more complex and more sophisticated than the Zagster bikes were, and that's only by a fairly small measure, they're also built for somewhat more durable and less requiring of maintenance as well. But the biggest difference is that the technology underlying the docking stage stands is much more complicated. So you're purchasing the equipment to put into place. Your actual cost per bike is far lower, but your cost for the entire station with bikes is higher. So just to explain that part of it now.
Madam President, I'd like to thank the Ward 5 councilor, if I may.
We're not recognizing councilors before they speak now? If you could raise your hand so I can recognize you. Councilor Dominguez was next.
I just wanted to second Councilor Dibble motion to bring it to committee so we can have some answers to some of the questions we have. I'd like to have some clarification also. I read it, and quite honest, I don't see the answer for some of the questions that I have. So I would like to see it in committee. Thank you.
So Councilor Dribble has made a motion to refer this matter to the Committee on Administration and Finance, seconded by Councilor Dominguez. Under discussion? None.
No further discussion necessary.
So the motion on the floor is to refer to committee. Should we take a roll call on that?
to you. We don't normally to refer, but you certainly can.
Well, since this is a money matter, I would prefer to take a roll call. So Madam City Clerk, please call the roll on the referral.
Is it just A&F or co-posted? I didn't hear.
Co-posted, Councilor Dibble?
Yes, please, Madam President.
Thank you.
Councilor Torrio?
Yeah.
Councilor Sargent?
Yes.
Councilor Riccardi?
Yes.
Councilor Kwasniewski?
Yes.
Councilor Marcillo?
Yes.
Councilor McCarthy?
Yes.
Councilor Hepworth?
Yes.
Councilor Flynn?
Yes.
Councilor Dominguez?
Yes.
Councilor Dibble?
Yes.
And Councilor Madore?
Yes. On the matter of the appropriation for the Blue Bikes Bike Share Program, we have 11 councilors voting, referring the matter to the Committee on Administration and Finance. Co-posted, we have 11 councilors voting, 11 affirmative, none the negative, the matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have the following two orders. An order for the sum of $40,000 to be appropriated from free cash to appropriate for startup costs for the Parks and Recreation Department, New Charter Street Cemetery Welcome Center at the Samuel Pickman House. And also an additional $4,000 order to be appropriated from short-term CIP for furnishings and equipment for such project.
Councilor Chorio.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Chorio moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objections, Councilor Chorio.
Thank you, Madam President. I also move for adoption by roll call vote.
Councilor Chorio moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm really excited about this. This is a collaboration that the city has worked out with the Peabody Essex Museum. As most of you probably know, where the Charter Street Cemetery is under extensive renovation and being brought back up to standards, having decades of damage repaired. And one of the outstanding issues has been how to kind of watch over it for the future and how to keep it in control, and working out a partnership with the Peabody Essex Museum to use the Pickman House, which is adjacent, as the welcome center and gateway to the cemetery allows us to better control access and be able to manage the site much better. And so I'm glad we're doing this and putting attendance in place for it. And I'm also glad that the Peabody Essex Museum has been willing to collaborate with us on this.
Any further discussion? Councilor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President. I have to agree with the Ward 5 councilor. I think this is a good opportunity to help preserve that cemetery. I see in the mayor, and there was a substantial amount of information that was shared with us. I see that the mayor talked about that this program would be self-funding at some point in the future, I think later this year. This $40,000, I just want to point out so we're clear, looks to be for just 2 months until the end of the fiscal year on June 30th. And I'm not sure what happens after that. It will be in the budget, if any funds are needed to keep it running after this point. And I wonder if visitors will be charged admission going into the cemetery. I know that groups will be charged and need to hire a tour guide through the city that is available right there. So I'm going to be voting in support of this. I don't want to see this go to committee. Let's get this thing up and running. The key thing is that once this seed money is laid out to get the program up and running, the mayor says it'll be self-funding. So I don't have an objection to this at all. This is a good thing for maintenance of the cemetery and capitalizing some money and keeping things under control. So I'll be voting in support of this. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilor. I think I saw Councilor Hapworth's hand up next.
Thank you, Madam President. I would also like to agree with the Ward 5 councilor and the Ward 7 councilor. I think that beyond just protecting the cemeteries, I think this provides an opportunity for us as a community to start telling our own story. There's interpretive work that's going to be happening inside this visitor center, where we're able to tell tourists this is not a Halloween prop that you're visiting here. This is actual Puritan artwork that's happening out here, and this is what it means. I think that's very, very important. I think it's also important to point out there's not an admission fee to get into the cemetery, but there is donations accepted inside the Pickman House. There'll be merchandise for sale in there as well. So I think there is some funding sources that'll be coming forward from that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I would agree. And with reference to moving forward in the budget, I believe that I spoke to the mayor about this because the cemetery's, in my ward. And one of the issues is obvious is, is upkeep and have eyes on it. But at the same time as we're going to, I think moving forward in the budget, we'll be adding to, I don't know if we'll go in a revolving fund itself or it'll be connected with the witch house because Elizabeth, who runs the witch house, is going to be, dovetailing over to this, and she does a fabulous job. So I think it's just a matter of, when you look at the inventory is just going to be for, they're going to be providing maps and literature and stuff for sale so people can, if they want to go through it, they can have a better sense of what it actually is they're looking at. And I think that's when you talk about self-funding, once it gets into the inventory, we'll be creating a revolving fund that will help self-sustain it. So I think it's great. I think it's, with everything that goes on, how many times have we seen that we've need to, just by the sheer volume of people, especially around October, that go into the cemetery, that we've had to, close it down, so to speak, so we can avoid any more long-term damage. So I think this is a great way to put eyes and ears on it and to preserve it.
Thank you, Councilor. Any further discussion? Councilor Persniewski. Oh, I'm sorry. Councilor Terrio, did you raise your hand earlier?
Yeah, I did.
Councilor Terrio, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam President. So, yeah, I was going to kind of chime in with some of this. The idea here is that there will be donations accepted and donations taken for maps that will be provided. So admission to the cemetery itself is and will remain free, although it will be time limited for access. And, they'll be able to manage the volume of people by going through the center, and then also merchandise that is sold and, gift shop merchandise that they sell, much like at the Witch House today, will go into a revolving fund that will help pay for all this. So it's a pretty straightforward formula that has worked for us with the Witch House. Difference being that admission to the cemetery itself will remain free.
Thank you. Councilor Persniewski.
Thank you, Madam President. From a security standpoint, I believe that the police department would agree with me that this is a win-win situation. It provides security for the cemetery, which is police are constantly being called to after dark because of people who are either deliberately or non-deliberately trespass in there at night. That area in October is very busy with all the tourists on Liberty Street. The people of Charter Street have to put up with a lot of the traffic and noise because of that. I think having that visitor center there just adds so much more to that area and takes away a lot of the problems just by it being there. I think it's a great idea, and I also support it.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll on these two matters.
Councilor Terrio?
Yes.
Councilor Sargent?
Yes.
Councilor Cardy?
Yes.
Councilor Persniewski?
Yes.
Councilor Marcello?
Yes.
Councilor McCarthy?
Yes.
Councilor Hapworth?
Yes.
Councilor Flynn?
Yes.
Councilor Dominguez?
Yes.
Councilor Dibble?
Yes.
And Councilor Madula?
Yes. On the two matters related to the Charter Street Cemetery Welcome Center, we have 11 councilors voting, 11 affirmative, none negative. The matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We've been ordered that the sum of $18,795 is hereby appropriated and transferred from the capital outlay short-term CIP repairs and restoration account for furnishing repairs and restorations.
Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Terrio moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for adoption by roll call vote.
Council Terrio moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion?
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to thank our city clerk for bringing this forward. I know she's been working on this for quite some time in anticipation of us eventually being able to be in the chambers again instead of just virtually, so like the Ward 1 councilor and myself are tonight. This is to repair and completely restore and refurbish the chairs that we've been using in the council chambers for all these years that I don't think have been refurbished since City Hall was built, as we've all been sitting in them. So the chairs have a substantial amount of history to them and are also falling apart and don't really support modern humans terribly well, as we're all aware. So this is something, again, the city clerk has been working on this for a long time to try and get this into the plan. And this is the year, while we're not in the chambers, to get these kind of repairs done and taken care of so that when we do move back into the chambers, hopefully, by the fall, we'll have, a chamber worthy of what it once was again. Just to also preview, if you didn't read this in the documentation, the intention is to have restoration of the desks and some of the other furniture included in the fiscal year 22 budget. So, but this is a part we can get done now with CIP funds. So I look forward to being able to sit in these chairs again someday.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Hapworth.
I just want thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to appreciate that we're doing this. This is furniture that was originally purchased, I think, for the city council and when the building was built. So it's a pretty cool piece of history. I also want to just ensure that I believe there's 4 breath mints left behind on my desk from Council Sergeant that I want to make sure nobody touches. I think
Oh, it's gone.
I'll go down and get them tomorrow.
Any further discussion?
We have a bag waiting for you.
Any further discussion? I'm glad to see this come forward before the next fiscal year, because I know Eileen had requested it in the budget. I'm glad to see it advanced. And I also wonder what the council president sat on all these centuries before us, because my chair is pretty new. So I'm pretty comfortable up here. Seeing no further discussion. Oh, Councilor Dibble, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam President. Through you, I guess, to our city clerk, if I may, I'm wondering if it might make more sense to switch this year versus next year, whereas the dollar amount is very, very close, and do the desks this year, because we can always use fold-up chairs when we're back. But next year, if we're looking to take the desks out, that might disrupt the whole area for several months, or however long it takes to do each desk. It looked like in the correspondence said it took 2 weeks to do 1 chair and 1 desk. So I'm not sure what that translates to all 10 desks at one time. So just throwing that out there, if it made sense to flip-flop it, we can live with fold-up chairs for a while, but we're not going to be able to live without a desk at meetings.
Madam City Clerk, would you like to address the question or refer this to committee, or it's up to Councilor Terrio as well? But
They're very even in terms of the costs. Something that I can consider. I can talk to the company that's doing it to maybe speak with them to see how long the desk would take versus the chairs, and leave that up to my discretion, if you like. I think it's pretty even, but it's up to the will of the council what you prefer. I just know that there was some more injuries with the chairs, I think, than with the desks, and that was just my goal. But more need for the chairs.
Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll also note that the city clerk, or our city clerk, did a lot of work to get the quotes that we did get. There were multiple vendors that didn't even want to touch this. They looked at the situation, said, no, this is too much of a job. So I'm glad we were able to find somebody willing to take on the task that's appropriate.
Thank you. I would attest to that as well. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Torrio,
Yes.
Council Sargent,
Yes.
Council Riccardi,
Yes.
Council Kwasniewski,
Yes.
Council Morsillo,
Yes.
Council McCarthy,
Yes.
Council Hepworth,
Yes.
Council Flynn,
Yes.
Council Dominguez,
Yes.
Council Dibble,
Yes.
and Council Madore.
Yes, on the matter of appropriation of $18,795 to repair and restore furnishings in council chambers. We have 11 councilors voting, 11 affirmative, none in the negative, the matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order that per Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 64, which allows for municipalities to pay for prior fiscal year invoices using current fiscal year appropriations by a 2/3 vote of the council. There's a request that the sum of $1,044.83 for outstanding fiscal year 2020 invoice for the town of Danvers be paid from fiscal year 21 engineering warrant enterprise budget.
Council Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for suspension of the rules.
Council Terrio moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Council Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I also move for adoption by roll call vote.
Council Terrio moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. This is fairly simple. We got the invoice too late to pay it in fiscal 2020. And so it's now, after having bounced around for a while, it's now fiscal 2021. And this is our normal pilot payment for some of the land that's in Danvers associated with our reservoirs in the water system, which is why this is coming out of the water enterprise account.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Torrio,
Yes.
Council Sargent,
Yes.
Council Riccardi,
Yes.
Council Kwasniewski,
Yes.
Council Marcello,
Yes.
Council McCarthy,
Yes.
Council Hepworth,
Yes.
Council Flynn,
Yes.
Council Dominguez,
Yes.
Council Dibble,
Yes.
and Council Madore.
Yes. On the matter of appropriation of $1,044.83 to the town of Danvers, we have 11 councilors voting, 11 affirmative. The matter carries. None in the negative. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order to accept a donation from Ruth and David Lerner, the amount of $1,950. These funds will be deposited in the Park and Rec donation fund to be used for park bench.
Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for adoption by roll call vote.
Councilor Terrio moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to thank the Larrabees for their donation. I also would note here that I don't see, in a lot of cases, you see which park that this is intended for. And unfortunately, it's not mentioned in this one or in their bequest. So I'm not sure where it's going, but I'm glad that they're contributing one.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Not sure if these are anyone's constituents that they can speak on behalf of. Seeing no further discussion, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Torrio,
Yes.
Council Sargent,
Yes.
Council Riccardi,
Yes.
Council Kwasniewski,
Yes.
Council Marcello,
Yes.
Council McCarthy,
Yes.
Council Hepworth,
Yes.
Council Flynn,
Yes.
Council Dominguez,
Yes.
Council Dibble,
Yes.
and Council Madore.
Yes. On the matter to accept a donation from the Larrabees for an amount of $1,950, we have 11 councilors voting, 11 affirmative, none in the negative. The matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order that the council order of 2016 to create a revolving fund account for solar renewable energy certificates be hereby amended as follows, with the fund name, program to purpose, and type of receipts collected.
Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for adoption by roll call vote.
Councilor Terrio moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. This is the repurposing of a revolving fund that was used for credit for solar panel work that was supported by Footprint over at the Witchcraft Heights School. And this is repurposing it to allow revenues that come in that nature to be reused for utility, basically projects to save on energy in city work. So we can reuse the fund instead of creating a brand new one. We can reuse this existing one for energy projects in the city, and it's not it's just money that comes in for these purposes, then goes out for those purposes, and it's a revolving fund. It's not a taxpayer fund, so
Thank you.
simpler than creating a whole new one.
Recycling these funds. Any further discussion? Councillor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President. This is a good thing. I've had solar panels on my roof for, 14 years, give or take. But in reading the entire document, it's not clear what the money is going to be used for. Now that there basically are solar panels and the money will come back to the city of Salem, it should be clear what we're going to do with that money. I'll use my house as an example. I have a deduct meter. The power is taken off my electric bill, and I basically have no electric bill for the last 15 years. Now it's the city of Salem's opportunity to do the same thing at some of their schools. So rather than put that money to some program, I think we should just take it right off of our electric bills, which I think is allowed with a deduct meter. So I'd like to see this go to committee and have a discussion about this, because this is a substantial amount of money that we're talking about here that could be coming in from, if I'm making this much money on just my house, imagine what we're doing on the entire roof at Witchcraft Heights and at Bentley School, et cetera. And hopefully every city building that can accommodate these solar panels on the roofs, we'll put them up there, including the Community Life Center. So I respectfully move that this go to committee so we can have a very fast discussion on this and see if we can just simply lower our electric bills rather than just spending the windfall.
So Madam President.
Councilor Terrio.
Thank you. So this is not for the metering, the actual energy metering. This is on the solar credits that the city has gotten for doing the credits that we've gotten for doing the installations. So to go into this, and unfortunately, normally Jenna would be dealing with this and going through all the details, but she's on vacation this week. Normally speaking, your recurring energy bill that we get and net energy bill is separate from actual credits that we get for doing the installations and the like. So we had been taking those credits and assigning them to Footprint to offset some of the money they spent to install the panels in the first place. That was the original deal that we had with Footprint for subsidizing that. So this would allow us to take the credits that we get from that solar installation and other ones, and not just straight on the energy cost, but the actual state and federal credits, and use that money to turn over to do other projects to increase energy efficiency and to lower costs and to perhaps install more solar panels around the city and all the like. So that's the idea behind it. If you really want to go into the weeds on it with engineering and with Jenna, that's fine. But it's a pretty straightforward reuse of an existing revolving fund. If we're taking actual money in from solar and actual bill reduction, that applies to a different area in the budget, and that applies directly to our energy costs, not to a revolving fund.
Any further discussion? Councilor Dibble has made a motion to refer the matter to the Committee on Administration and Finance. Councilor Dominguez.
Thank you, Madam President. It's always a good advice to, when someone has questions, especially when it's a financial matter, to bring it up to committee so we can discuss it deeply and we can come out with some clarification. Especially now through these difficult moments we live in, I think that we need to be very responsible on how we present the information, especially for the general public, and everyone needs to be on the same page, and we need to make sure that all details are clarified. So I second the good counsel Ward 7 motion to bring it to committee so it can be discussed. And I also wanted to add to be it on to the committee with the committee of the whole.
Co-post.
Yeah.
Councilor Dibble has moved to refer the matter to the Committee on Administration and Finance, co-posted Committee of the Whole, second by Councilor Dominguez. Under discussion. Seeing none, we'll take a roll call on the referral. Madam City Clerk.
Council Torrio,
Nope.
Council Sargent,
Yes.
Council Riccardi,
Yes.
Council Prosnewski,
Yes.
Council Morcillo,
Yes.
Council McCarthy,
Sorry, no.
Council Hapworth,
No.
Councilor Flynn,
No.
Council Dominguez,
Yes.
Council Dibble,
Yes.
and Council Madore.
No. Madam City Clerk, could you?
6 to 5 in favor. 6 to 5 in favor.
6 in favor?
Yes.
All right.
Now it counts.
I was trying to look at the screen, forgot to keep track. On the referral of the matter to Committee of Administration and Finance, we have 11 councilors voting, 6 in the affirmative, 5 in the negative. The matter carries. The matter is referred. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order for a home rule petition for an act authorizing the city of Salem to employ automated enforcement of speed limit violations in designated school zones within the city of Salem. And the continues to page 416.
Councilor Marcello.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that this be adopted by roll call vote.
Councilor Marcello moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. In my ward on Wilson Street, we recently had bike lanes installed. And part of that process was to do a traffic study before, during, and after the installation of the flex posts. And so that data was very interesting. In a 25 mile per hour speed zone, the maximum speed of a car was 65 miles per hour on Wilson Street, right in front of 2 schools. The average speed after the posts were removed for the winter was 37.5 miles per hour in a 25 mile per hour zone, right in front of 2 schools. The city's been working hard to apply for and receive Mass DOT grants for safe routes to school projects. We've been working on sidewalks and safe crosswalks and better signage and alerting people to the fact that there are schools present and they need to slow down. But traffic seems to be getting faster every day. So even with these improvements from safe routes to schools, traffic's getting worse. So we really do need to do something, and I do wholeheartedly support this petition to bring in speed cameras around schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Madam President. And I also would echo the comments of the Ward 3 councilor. I think from what I've read and what I've seen, it's roughly 20% reductions in injuries to children in school zones, which I think is a clear-cut win for all of us. Also, I think that, you know, you're looking at, I think that the statistics I've read also have shown that there are very few repeat offenders. So it does make an impact on people who get that ticket the first time. I would be interested to see when this comes back, what sort of cameras we're going to use. I think the ones that have been used in other communities have taken just a photograph of the license plate if the car is going, I think 10 miles per hour over the speed limit, or there's some sort of a standard set. So I would be interested to see what those are, but definitely in favor of this resolution.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Persniewski. Whoa. Hold on. Persniewski. Councilor Persniewski, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam President. at face value, I'm supportive of this for obvious reasons. Keep the cars traveling slow during school hours. I'm just a lot of questions on this about the parameters of these cameras. When will they be recording speed? Will it be during school hours? Will it be before school, after school? I think there's a lot to be discussed about the placement, the fines. I know the outline has given the fines on it too, but it just doesn't seem to make sense at this point to just randomly put cameras up in front of all the schools, expecting people to abide by the school zone laws without any foresight or any publication, any media, any effort to kind of announce that this is what the city is going to be trying to do. And one of the other reasons I'm bringing this up is I know that the police department for quite a few years was trying to get cameras at Riley Plaza because of the amount of traffic and the safety concerns for pedestrian crossings and people running the red lights and blocking the intersections at Riley Plaza. And we were told at that time that it was against the state law to have in Massachusetts. Massachusetts has not adopted the cameras for traffic enforcement. So now they're saying that we can't do that for red lights, but we can do that for school zones. So I'm kind of I don't understand that part of it. I think this is something that should be discussed further and maybe in committee. Again, I'm for this, but I'd just like to have some answers.
Thank you, Councillor. Just to clarify, this is a home rule petition. We're not actually adopting city ordinance. This is to agree that we will file for this legislation so that the state could approve it. So we're not, if adopted, this is not going to be a city ordinance. Just to clarify that. I think I saw Councillor Riccardi's hand
Can
go
I
up.
finish then, Madam Councilor? If we're going to do that, and I'm for that, could we also piggyback and try to get the red light cameras at Riley Plaza? Because that, everyone knows that is an extremely dangerous area. So if we're going to be doing any filing, let's try to do it all together.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Riccardi.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to echo the comments of my good fellow Ward 3 Councillor. Ward 6 has the Bates School, which is along the road that leads to Kernwood Bridge, and currently it's undergoing one of the Mass.dot Safe Routes to Schools programs. A lot of money is being spent to improve the safety for the pedestrians to that school, but it's still, I truly feel that to stop the speeders going down there, you gotta do enforcement such as this. I don't necessarily think communication is needed. If you're breaking the law, you're breaking the law. And we will be able to now, hopefully, when this passes and finalizes, be able to issue the tickets, the safety, especially if we can start with safety for children walking to school. I'm all in support of that. And if we need to add on other items of safety, I will also support that, but I would not want to delay safety for children and in school zones. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm generally supportive of doing this, but I do have a few concerns about the scope and I have some concerns about some of the possible privacy issues, although from what I can read, most of that seems to be addressed. My larger concern is the scope of the areas drawn, and I just sort of want to have a better picture. I would prefer this go to committee so we can kind of dig a little bit further into it. If the will of the body is to put that through tonight, that's the choice. But I'd like to see a little bit more coverage of the scope of this. I think I'm all in favor of having these right at school areas, but I also would want to know, does what this does and does not cover in some of these cases. And I don't think I quite have that kind of information to go with that right now.
Thank you. Councillor Marcello, and then Councillor Duvall, and then Councillor Sargent.
Thank you, Madam President. Just to be clear, and I probably should have been a little more clear about what is happening here, this is the same thing that was submitted, voted on by this body and submitted in 2019. It died when the state legislative session ended, and so it's just resubmitting it to get it passed through the state again. So everything that was in it before is still in it. The same areas are being talked about. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President. Ward 7 is the only area really not affected by this because we don't have a school any longer in our ward. Every other ward does. We do have the university, however, but universities are not allowed under this program, it looks like. I'm not sure about that. But I'd have to echo the good Councilor Prosnewski's comments. They're right on the money, including Riley Plaza makes sense. I got a couple of complaints on this, that it was an invasion of privacy. So I think in the Ward 5, Councilor brought the same issue up as well. I think this needs to go to committee because we want to make sure whatever we're submitting, and I agree that we submitted this previously, but 2 years have gone by. Let's make sure that whatever we're submitting to the state is what we truly want. So let's have a fast discussion on this and then get it to the state. So I'd like to move that we submit this to OLA committee, co-posted with the committee of the whole, please.
Second.
Councillor Dibble, thank you. Councillor Dibble moves to refer the matter to the Committee on Ordinances, License, and Legal Affairs, composed of committee of the whole, seconded by Councillor Sargent. Under discussion, Councillor Sargent.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to thank Councilor Masilla for clearing up that we had passed this in 2019 because I actually thought we had it on the books and we were at what was on the books. So thanks for clearing that up. But when we did pass that in the City Council before, I got a lot of comments from people that were upset about the fact that they supported it generally being in force during the hours school was in session, an hour before, an hour after that. But they weren't supportive of it being till midnight, being at 5 o'clock in the morning, being on weekends, being during the summer school vacation time. And I tend to agree with them. I very agreeable to keeping our kids safe. But when the schools aren't in session, it's a little bit different story. So I think fair is fair on that. And that's why I'd like to see it go to committee. So thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sargent, if you could assume presidency.
So be it.
Councillor Sargent.
The good councilor from Ward 2.
Thank you, Mr. President. I feel a little bit conflicted about this matter because it seems like we are trying to legislate at a local level without the purview of this body, that we're leaving it up to the state legislatures to create a local city ordinance. So and just revisiting some of the language in this ordinance, I have some concerns about the scope. I'm not particularly concerned about the invasion of privacy, but I think it's important that we take a deeper dive on some of the detail of this ordinance. I also noticed some typos in here, that we really tighten up the language before we let the state legislature decide whether we should enact this. And I feel that these local roads should be under our jurisdiction, and this is somewhat of a last resort because the state won't allow us to install cameras. And I'm fully in agreement with some of the points that have been made so far about keeping our school children safe, and understand that this is a long overdue enforcement of traffic laws and a good tool to adopt. But I just have some concerns with the language in regards to the scope and the fines, where the fines being, where's the fine flowing to? Is it flowing to SPD or other entities? So I just wanted to get a better understanding before we send it off to the state. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Madore. Madam President, please assume the chair.
Thank you. Any further discussion? The motion on the floor is to refer the matter to the Committee on Ordinances, Licensing and Legal Affairs, proposed to Committee of the Whole. Seeing no further discussion, I'll take a vote on that. All those in favor? I think it's unanimous. Oh,
You want to do a roll call since we've been doing them?
sure. Let's do it. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Counselor Torrio?
Yes.
Counselor Sargent?
Yes.
Counselor Riccardi?
Yes.
Counselor Prosnewski?
Yes.
Counselor Masillo?
Yes.
Counselor McCarthy?
Yes.
Counselor Hapworth?
Yes.
Counselor Flynn?
Yes.
Counselor Dominguez?
Yes.
Counselor Dibble?
Yes.
And Counselor Madore.
Yes. On the matter of the home rule petition, we have to refer to the Committee on Ordinances, Licensing and Legal Affairs, proposed to the Committee of the Whole. We have 11 councilors voting, 11 affirmative, none in the negative, no carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have a resolution calling for permanent changes to Massachusetts open meeting law to facilitate greater public participation through technology.
Councilor Marcello.
Thank you, Madam President. Shall I read the resolution?
Yes, please.
Whereas on March 12th, 2020, Governor Baker issued an emergency order suspending certain provisions of the Commonwealth's open meeting law, Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20. And whereas the governor's order and subsequent regulations by the state allowed for municipal boards, commissions, and committees to conduct business using remote participation technologies and online platforms. And whereas because of these actions, access to local public meetings greatly expanded, giving residents and other members of the public more accessibility to the deliberations, public comment opportunities, and votes at these meetings. And whereas the residents of Salem have benefited enormously from the flexibility provided by virtual meetings, substantially increasing the number and diversity of voices able to participate in these important discussions and actions. And whereas the City of Salem is developing its own local ordinances and policies to allow for the continuation of virtual meeting broadcasts and public comment options, even after the current state of emergency concludes, which would allow in-person meetings to continue to be broadcast online and for remote participation by members of the public. And whereas all residents of the Commonwealth would additionally benefit from the state legislature and state boards, similarly providing access to the public via remote participation, now therefore be it resolved that the mayor of the City of Salem and the Salem City Council urge the Massachusetts legislature to develop and approve such legislation as necessary to amend the open meeting law to allow for remote participation by the public and greater flexibility by municipal boards and commissions, as well as the state legislature and state boards, and utilizing technology to facilitate greater public participation, even after the conclusion of the current state of emergency. And I move for adoption by roll call vote.
Councilor Marcello moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. I think one of the best things that came out of the past year was the increased participation in public meetings. I've witnessed it. I've witnessed it on projects within my ward that more people are attending planning board meetings and conservation commission meetings and attending the city council meetings. We heard comment back right in the beginning of this whole pandemic when we were first on this platform from people who said that they've finally been able to participate in the city council meetings because they've been at home taking care of children or have been tied up at work and couldn't attend in person at City Hall. So I'm really looking forward to something changing with this law at the state level and then diving in at the city level to change some of our processes and our ordinances to allow for greater public participation through some sort of remote platform. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Torrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I think this one of the few bright spots of this last year has been the increase in public participation. that we've had with these remote meetings. And using technology to do this has really turned out to be a big benefit to a lot of people in this city. People who previously couldn't come downtown to attend a meeting, couldn't interact. Now they can. And I think that's one of the few things that's been a net positive out of this whole crisis. And hopefully we will be able to keep many of these tools in place for people in the future. And hopefully the state and other communities and other boards will be able to keep on doing this. It's a clear benefit. And even if when we can meet in person again, we should keep finding a way to keep this interactive component in things. Right now, just looking at the attendees, there's 20 people in our meeting, not counting the Salem News and SATV. There's 20 people in our meeting who probably wouldn't have come downtown to sit in City Hall chambers for hours, but now they can do it and participate and really follow the proceedings right from their living room. So I think it's a benefit, and I hope the state follows along.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Torrio,
Yes.
Council Sargent,
Yes.
Council Riccardi,
Yes.
Council Prosnewski,
Yes.
Council Morcillo,
Yes.
Council McCarthy,
Yes.
Council Hapworth,
Yes.
Council Flynn,
Yes.
Council Dominguez,
Yes.
Dibble,
Yes.
and Council Madore.
Yes. On the matter of the resolution, we have 11 councilors voting, 11 affirmative, none negative. The matter carries. Further communications from the mayor. Councilor Prosnewski.
We have a resolution recognizing the service of Mary Butler, Chief of Police, retired from the Salem Police Department.
All right, Councilor Prosnewski.
Thank you. This resolution recognizing the service of Mary Butler, Chief of Police, retired, Salem Police Department. Whereas on March 25th, 2021, we pay tribute to Mary E. Butler, recently retired Chief of the Salem Police Department. Whereas Chief Butler began her service to the city of Salem and its residents when she joined the ranks of the Salem Police Department as a patrol officer in 1987. She served 2 years in the patrol division before being appointed a detective and assigned to the Criminal Investigation Division. Detective Butler was one of the first female officers to be designated a detective on the North Shore. Whereas in 1992, Butler was promoted to the rank of sergeant and assumed an increasing level of supervisory and managerial responsibility within the department. In 1993, she was named as the administrative aide to then Chief Robert M. St. Pierre. Promoted to the rank of lieutenant in 1996, Butler was responsible for managing key areas of the department, including the operations budget, grants, technology, personnel, recruit selection, and overseeing the Special Operations Division. From 2010 through 2014, Lieutenant Butler served as a shift commander in the Patrol Division, overseeing uniform patrol operations that protect the residents of Salem. Whereas in 2014, Lieutenant Butler was promoted to acting captain, and on April 9th, 2015, was appointed Chief of Police by Mayor Kimberly Driscoll. Chief Butler was the first woman chief of police in a department that can trace its roots back to our city's founding. Chief Butler served with honor, integrity, and dedication throughout her career and has left a positive and lasting impression not only on the Salem Police Department and the officers who served, but on policing throughout the North Shore. Chief Butler's well-deserved retirement occurred on August 1st, 2020. Whereas Chief Butler was an innovator in community policing and exemplified the principles of policing attributed to Sir Robert Peel, who in his 7th principle wrote, quote unquote, "Police at all times should maintain a relationship with the public that gives reality to the historic tradition that the police are the public and the public are the police. The police only being members of the public who are paid to give full-time attention to the duties which are incumbent on every citizen in the interest of the community's welfare and existence. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the mayor of the city of Salem and the Salem City Council, on behalf of the Salem Police Department, the Salem residents, express our sincere appreciation and gratitude to Chief Butler for the loyalty and dedication she displayed throughout her 33 years of public service. And be it further resolved that this resolution be made a matter of record, that these proceedings and a suitable copy be presented to Chief Butler, along with a copy of the city seal on behalf of the mayor, the city council, the Salem Police Department, and the residents of Salem. Madam President, may I have a moment of personal preference?
Councilor Presnewski asked for a point of personal privilege. Seeing no objection, Councilor Presnewski.
Thank you. From the day that Mary joined the Salem Police Department in 1987, and for the last 33 plus years, I had the pleasure of working with her. Since day one, I saw her commitment and dedication to both our community and to the men and women who served with her. After she announced her retirement, I wrote in part on social media, "Congratulations on your retirement, Chief Mary Butler. For over 33 years, you served our community honestly, faithfully, and with tremendous strength and compassion. You never swerved from your path of duty, even under difficult circumstances most will never know. I am honored to have served with such a fine chief, and so very proud to call you my friend." I now move that this resolution be adopted by roll call vote.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Presnewski moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion. Would you like to, under discussion? Councilor Dibble, then Councilor Dominguez.
Thank you, Madam President. I don't think anybody could have summed that up better than somebody with 40 years experience. So thank you, Councilor Presnewski. Well said. I had the privilege of knowing Mary Butler for the last 30 plus years. Worked with her on several projects with Chief St. Pierre. I'd like to compliment her on, I'll throw out a little personal note as well. I've taught about 1,200 kids in Salem how to play chess, and maybe 50 adults or so, and Mary Butler was one of them. We were at a wedding up in northern Maine at another police officer's daughter's wedding. And let me just say, with Mary Butler's intelligence, she picked up the game of chess faster than anybody I've ever seen play before, and she had never played the game until that day. But in all seriousness, she has represented the city of Salem amazingly over these years, and the entire city owes her a big thank you, if you would. What I want to stress here is where she came from. She had over 3 decades worth of training that took place in the Salem Police Department, an excellent training resource where she rose up to the ranks, as Councilor Presnewski just documented. She rose up through the ranks, knew the city incredibly well, and stepped in as the chief basically without missing a beat, and commanded a great Salem Police Department as well as knowledge of the city. So having that training within is a great example of why we should be looking to hire our chief of police, our chief in the fire department. Hiring from within is extremely important. I'm disappointed that we're not doing that now with the present replacement, and we should be. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilor Dominguez.
Thank you, Madam President. I also wanted to echo, and I wanted to speak and express my gratitude to the Chief Mary Butler from the point of view of the residents. I have also the honor and privilege to work very close with Mary Butler, but she, as chief, opened the door of her office widely for the community. I have so many great experience. Even my brother, who is a pastor in Salem, who happened to stroke, expressed his gratitude to her. So we cannot say enough about a great leader that we have in Mary Butler, and we wish her the best. And hopefully we can continue to have the same pattern with the new city and the new chief of police that we hire here, because the communication and the relationship with the community, we as a family have to maintain it, and this is part of what makes the good leadership that we had in Mary Butler. So thank you so much, and I wish the best for her. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Flynn.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd also like to echo the statements that were made here regarding Chief Butler. As a member of public safety, I've seen firsthand her lead the best police department on the North Shore. She's always done an excellent job, a great leader, and very proud to have worked as a public safety member in this city. As a ward counselor, she was a constituent of mine in Ward 4, and I just want to wish the chief a happy, healthy, and long retirement. Job well done. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Riccardi.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to quickly thank the chief myself as well. Unfortunately, I only had about 6 months of working with the chief, 3 of which were under a pandemic. So I'm mostly sad that I did not get to work more with Chief Mary Butler. I'd also like to note that this is Women's History Month. I believe we're still in the month of March. And I want to just note the accomplishment of Chief Mary Butler being the first female police chief. I just was trying to do a quick Google search or research to see how many female police chiefs there are in the US. The first answer I got was 1%. Hopefully it has gone up because that study was about 15 years ago, but I just want to acknowledge that that's quite the accomplishment, and I really appreciate Mary Butler. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor McCarthy.
It's quite simple. I've had the honor to sit in this seat for a while now, and I've had the honor and privilege to work with several police chiefs. And I just want to, say that Mary is one of the best. And I miss our conversations. I actually called her up, I don't know, I forget, it was a little while ago. And I said, once this pandemic thing's over, we got to go out and sit and have a conversation. And, and she agreed, because, she hasn't gone far, but, she's not in that capacity anymore. But the way she approached her job and the way she did her job and the way she treated myself, every member of this council presently now and in the past. And you just simply, she did the job and she made it look easy. And I think that's the biggest compliment I could say to her was she made it look easy. She did it seemingly to make it look effortless. And she made everyone that she came in touch with, whether it was a member of the council or a member of the public, she put them at ease and made them understand what was going to transpire and how the police were going to deal with that person's problem. And she was just a great representative of the Salem Police Department. And I sorely miss her, and I miss our conversations, and I hope to see her again soon, but I wish her all the best in her retirement.
Thank you. Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll be really brief. I just, as a first-time candidate and also as a first-time counselor, I think that I had lots of people that I needed to reach out to proactively, and I think Mary Butler was one of maybe the only person that proactively reached out to me and asked me to come down and visit her. And I think that she always made me feel comfortable and welcome at the police station. Actually, when I walked into her office, Councilor Prosnewski, I think, was sitting at her desk, oddly enough. But I just appreciate her and her leadership. And I think that to echo Councilor Riccardi's statement, I think that it's an accomplishment, and it's something that I frequently talk about my daughter and wanting my daughter to see people in positions that she could be in someday. And I appreciate people like Mary Butler.
Thank you. Councilor Rosillo.
Thank you, Madam President. I think I'll jump in here, and like my fellow first term counselors, I didn't have much overlap with the chief, but she was very welcoming, and every time I saw her, she made it very clear that I could call her, talk to her about anything, any concerns, any issues that I might have. I will say that although I did not previously have much experience with the police department directly before that, it was inspirational to have a woman as the chief. I will say that 100%. I think it's really great to have women in those positions because it's rarely seen. And I'll say that I'm disappointed that our next chief will not be a woman. I'll say that very clearly. I think it's really important for women and for young girls to see that they can rise to that level in a mostly male-dominated profession. So happy retirement to the chief.
Thank you. Councilor Sargent, if you assume the seat of the presidency.
Assume the chair, and I recognize the good councilor from Ward 2.
Thank you, thank you, Mr. President. I just want to say a few words about how deeply disappointed I am that we are not joined in this chamber to celebrate Chief Butler's retirement. I could picture her family and friends and the entire community and members of the Salem Police Department just swarming this room and listening to Councilor Presnewski reading this resolution. I would have really loved that energy and celebrating an incredible woman who has led the Salem Police Department in her career so effortlessly, like the good Ward 1 councilor mentioned. I think she led the city's police department as a chief, one of the hardest jobs in the city, with incredible grace. I am always amazed at how patient she is with anyone that has questions for her, and also very incredibly patient sitting in council chamber and listening to this body deliberate for hours, and just making the police department approachable and accessible. And also want to touch on what my fellow women counselors have said. I felt a really great sense of pride to be able to tell my children to point to a chief of police that is a woman who has done incredible work and being a great leader. I think it's amazing to have that representation in a field that is dominated by men. And I hope to see more women in leadership positions in our public safety departments. And to close out my comments, and I thought about sharing this story. It's quite personal, but I am truly grateful for Chief Butler stepping in during the pandemic when I had a trespasser into my property and gave me quite a scare. And she just was so incredible and supportive, and assigning a detective onto the case right away, and really addressing my concerns. And I will be forever grateful for her proactiveness on that issue, and just truly, truly grateful for her leadership and her work, and wish that we could have been joined today celebrating her retirement, and hope to see her soon downtown somewhere. So happy retirement, Chief Butler. Any further discussion? Oh, Councilor and Mr. President, I yield the floor.
No, thank you, Madam President. Please assume the chair.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, on the matter of adoption of the resolution by roll call vote, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll. Before we do that, is Chief Butler in the attendance? I don't see her.
I see Bob Mulligan and I think Acting Chief King. I don't see Chief Butler though.
Okay. All right, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Torio,
Yes.
Councilor Sargent,
Yes.
Councilor Riccardi,
Yes.
Councilor Presnewski,
Yes.
Councilor Marcillo,
Yes.
Councilor McCarthy,
Yes.
Councilor Hepworth,
Yes.
Councilor Flynn,
Yes.
Councilor Dominguez,
Yes.
Councilor Dibble,
Yes.
and Councilor Madula.
Yes. On the matter of resolution recognizing the service of Chief Mary Butler, former Chief of Police, retired, we have 11 councilors voting, 11 affirmative, none in negative. The matter carries. Round of applause, virtual applause. Further communications from the mayor.
We have a resolution recognizing the service of Jerry Junta, Fire Chief, retired from the Salem Fire Department.
Councilor Flynn.
Thank you, Madam President. A resolution recognizing the service of Jerry Junta, Fire Chief retired, Salem Fire Department. Whereas on March 25th, 2021, we pay tribute to Jerry Junta, recently retired Chief of the Salem Fire Department. And whereas Chief Junta joined the Salem Fire Department as a firefighter in 1983 and served on Engine 1 and Ladder 2. He served as lieutenant with Engine 1, 2, and 4 from 1986 to 1993. Captain on Ladder 1 and Tower 2 from 1993 to 2007, and as deputy chief from 2007 to 2018, when Mayor Kim Driscoll appointed him to serve as chief. And whereas Junta was a member of FEMA's Massachusetts Urban Search and Rescue Task Force and led that team from 2006 to 2018. In his time with the task force, Chief Junta deployed in response to Hurricanes Harvey, Irene, and Katrina, the 2011 Springfield tornadoes, the 1996 Atlanta Olympics, and as operations leader with a 70-member team deployed to New York City following the attacks on September 11, 2001. And whereas as Chief Junta led the department with integrity and a commitment to public safety and public service. He oversaw major capital investments in fire stations and apparatus, provided expanded training and professional development opportunities for firefighters, worked in collaboration with major community stakeholders such as Footprint, SSU, NSMC, and SESD on emergency response preparation, secured state and federal grants to upgrade equipment, and increase the diversity of the department's workforce to better represent the community it serves. And whereas Chief Junta served as a key member of the city's COVID response task force, leading efforts around protective equipment, distribution, community coordination, and emergency preparedness. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the mayor of the city of Salem and the Salem City Council, on behalf of the staff of the Salem Fire Department and the residents of Salem, express our sincere appreciation and gratitude to Chief Junta for the loyalty and dedication he displayed throughout his 38 years of public service. And be it resolved that this resolution be made a matter of record of these proceedings and that a suitable copy be presented to Chief Junta along with a copy of the city seal on behalf of the mayor, the city council, the Salem Fire Department, and the residents of Salem. And I move for adoption by roll call vote.
Councillor Flynn moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion. Councillor Flynn.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm extremely honored to have had the opportunity to read this resolution tonight. I've worked with Chief Junta for almost 28 years. And from day one, he's always been a role model and a leader for myself. He's always trained all of us. He's trained us to know our jobs. He's always said a bad day for us can mean that someone's not going to come home. And that's something that stuck with me for my entire career to this point. I also remember the chief leaving on his many times with FEMA, and especially the one that I remember the most was in 9/11. I was on duty that day, and I remember they were on a bus heading over to 9/11 for search and rescue on that pile that many of us were watching on TV. And for me, I'm very, very proud of everything that he's accomplished. I can't say enough how honored I am to read this tonight. And to the chief, thank you for everything. You've made an impression on my career and on myself as a leader and a role model. Thank you again from the bottom of my heart. Congratulations on your retirement. Well done.
Thank you, Councillor Dominguez.
Thank you, Madam President. Being a resident of Salem for 26 years, I just know how important it is to have leaders, especially on the fire, and the police, as we just honor the chief of police. Being a community leader, business owner in the past, a parent, a teacher, I noticed how good it is to keep a very close relation with a great leader in those two forces. I cannot say enough about Chief Junta because every time I asked him for anything about the community, he was there. Simple thing that mean a lot for me and for my family and for the community. I always going to be grateful for his service to my community and for the entire city of Salem. And I wish him the best on his retirement. And I hope that he'll be around so we can continue to see a good leader among us and we continue to move forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Riccardi.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd also like to thank Chief Giunta for his service. As one of my favorite Ward 6 residents, I truly appreciate his friendly, calming, open demeanor that he has had in the very short time that I had to work with him. Again, most of it was under a pandemic, so it was extremely impressive to see him really use that calm demeanor that he had to really help lead and guide the department and the city throughout this crisis that he ended his years of service with. It was extremely impressive. He was also very helpful in different ward issues that we've had, such as helping organize the Luminaria, which really was my only connection with fire in the city. So I'm grateful for that it was a positive connection and, not any scary connections that I've had to have with him. But I truly appreciate his service. I'm looking forward to seeing his smile around the neighborhood, and I hope he enjoys his retirement.
Thank you. Councilor Prosniewski.
I was lucky enough to have spent my career paralleling the same time as Jerry Giunta's career, and we were young. I was a young patrolman. He was a young firefighter. We were on different scenes together. Always watched in awe on how professional he was at the scene and how he really he was a natural leader. He really knew his stuff, and he knew how to get his men to do things. He was greatly admired not only by his own peers, but also by people in the Salem Police Department. Because let's face it, when things get tough, you look for men like Jerry Giunta to step up to the plate and get people out of trouble, and he did that often, so many times. Also, we were fortunate that the Salem Police Department and the Salem Fire Department have had a great relationship, which is not very common in a lot of other communities. I know we're always vying for for dollars or for something or other, but morale in both departments, we were all good with each other because of guys like Jerry Giunta who would reach across the lines and always take the time to come across and thank us for what we were doing at the fire scenes, and just one hell of a good guy. I can see why his men followed him so faithfully. He had that aura about him where he was a great leader and a great mentor. I wish him all the luck in his retirement, and hope he rides his motorcycle in many sunsets and warm weather. And I hope to see him on the street soon. So thank you, Jerry, for everything you've done for this city. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. Briefly, Councilor Prosniewski just hit on it. I really enjoyed my time dealing with Chief Giunta. He was the ultimate professional. I got to see it firsthand when during the pandemic, when I'd be on the daily calls with all the city staff, and he'd be giving his updates and his reports. And I think we all we're coming out on the other side of this, but it's been over a year. But when this first started, we didn't know what we were getting into, and we started talking about PPE and everything else, and how professional Chief Giunta was during that whole process. I think if you'd ask him, I think the whole this last year took a lot out of him. It took a lot out of a lot of people with regards to, the stuff that they had to deal with. But when Councilor Prosniewski hit it on the head, he's come by my house a couple times on his motorcycle. I think he's really looking forward to a couple of those big long rides and figuring out where he's going to go and traveling on that motorcycle. And I wish him all the best. I wish him happy and safe travels, and hopefully his travels always bring him back to Salem, and so we get to see him around, because he's a great individual. He's been a great advocate for the fire department. He's been a great example of what a firefighter is. And I think that Councilor Prozanowski and Councilor Flynn hit it right on the head. He led by example, and he got the most out of his men, and his men knew that when he was on a scene that they were going to have to rise to the challenge. And I think that sums it up the best when, when his words were, when we have a bad day, someone doesn't get to go home. And I think that I'm sure over the course of his career, he had bad days, but he never let you know it. And he's an ultimate professional, and he will be sorely missed.
Thank you. Councilor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to echo the excellent words of all of my councilors. I'm in agreement fully. Salem sends a big thank you to Chief Junta. Jerry was hired from within, and he had a great local training along the way. 3.5 decades of training in the Salem Fire Department before he became chief. He knew what the buildings were like. He knew what the neighborhoods were like. He knew the players. It's a great training program going through the ranks in just about any of our departments, if you would. I see Chief Junta in attendance, and I look forward to hearing from him if he's willing to speak. So I move to suspend the rules to allow Chief Junta to speak, but I'd ask Madam President to upgrade him to a panelist so we can see his smiling and caring face.
Thank you. Any other councilors would like to share a few words? If not, Councilor Sargent, could you assume the role of president?
Thank you, Madam President. I'm assuming the chair, and I recognize a good councilor from Ward 2.
Thank you, Mr. President. I, again, am disappointed that we cannot be joined with the Chief Junta today in City Council chambers. I can only imagine both PD and Fire Department in the chamber. It must be a pretty hot event, the hottest ticket in town. So I'm disappointed that we could not celebrate in person. And for all my interactions with Chief Junta, I've always been amazed at how calm he is for someone who leads an emergency response team. So it really puts you at ease. And to close out, I want to share anecdote. I remember a couple years ago when the Bricks condos was permitted, and we were having a pre-construction meeting downtown just next door to City Hall. I walked into City Hall Annex, sat down next to Chief Junta. He leans over to me and says, "You got to crack an egg to make an omelet." And from then on, I think I've always applied that philosophy to everything I do as a public official, every hard thing that we do, especially around development and policy making. And I apply that to my day job as well. Chief Junta saying, you gotta crack an egg to make an omelet. And omelet's not always good, but you gotta crack the egg. So I really appreciate him saying that to me, and just, Chief Junta probably does not remember that interaction, but it really stayed with me, and I'm truly grateful for his service. And with that, Mr. President.
Thank you. I now have Madam President assume the chair, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Councilor Dibble moves to suspend the rules to allow Chief Junta to address the council. Madam City Clerk, do you want to promote? I can do that. Put you on the spot, Chief.
Let me get a little bit more lighting on me. Hold on one second.
At the basement.
Is that any better? Oh, one more second.
There we go.
Sorry about that. I just want to address the council and thank everybody. I'm very truly humbled by the comments tonight. I have been very honored to work for the city of Salem for 38 years, and being a firefighter allowed me to do those other things like the state hazardous materials team and the FEMA urban search and rescue team. And without being a member of the Salem Fire Department, I wouldn't be able to do all that. My journey has been incredible, and because of it, I was able to act a little bit calmly during a pandemic because I've been through a few things in my life. So very humbled and honored to be here, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, but thank you very much, everyone. It's been a true honor.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
I wish I had an applause machine. Applause sound machine. Chief, you can stay on while we take the roll call. Oh, Councilor Sargent.
Just one couple of quick notes. Thank you so very much to Chiefs Butler and Junta. It was those two chiefs and their faces that I saw when we were debating taking the chief's position out of civil service. And I knew they would be the next chiefs, and I really helped me work hard to try and keep that chief's position in civil service and hire from within and take advantage of their institutional knowledge of the job and the city. And I thank them both for their service. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Chief, if you could stay while we take the roll call. Madam City Clerk, please take the roll.
Pleasure and honor, Chief. Councilor Torrio,
Yes.
Councilor Sargent,
Yes.
Councilor Riccardi,
Yes.
Councilor Prosnewski,
Yes.
Councilor Marcello,
Yes.
Councilor McCarthy,
Yes.
Councilor Hapworth,
Yes.
Councilor Flynn,
Very honored to say yes.
Councilor Dominguez,
Absolutely, yes.
Councilor Dibble,
Yes.
and Councilor Madore.
Yes. On the resolution to recognize service of Chief Jared Junta, the Salem Fire Department, we have 11 councilors voting, 11 affirmative, none negative. Matter carries. Congratulations, and hope you have a great retirement.
Thank you very much. Very humbled.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Now I have to demote him. How do I do that?
Take care. I'll get myself off.
I'll see myself out.
To hear the motorcycle.
I know, huh?
All right. Mayor's informational page none. Motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Sargent, if you could assume the seat of the president.
Thank you. I'm assuming the chair, and I'll call on the good counselor from Ward 2.
Thank you, Mr. President. A resolution condemning acts of hate and violence against the Asian American and Pacific Islander community. Whereas 23 million Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders account for 7% of the population in the United States, and whereas approximately 1,300 of our brothers, sisters, neighbors, and business owners in the city of Salem identify as Asian American or Pacific Islander AAPI, and whereas AAPI communities are immensely diverse, consisting of multiple ethnicities, hundreds of languages and dialects, wide-ranging socioeconomic characteristics, and distinct immigration patterns, and whereas the belief that AAPIs are a monolithic group and achieve universal success, also known as the model minority myth, perpetuates stereotypes and massive disparities within these communities. And whereas racism and scapegoating toward AAPIs have persisted since the 19th century and contributed toward policies like the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882, which prohibited immigration of Chinese laborers, and introduction of the term yellow peril, which represented East Asians as dangerous and threatening to the United States. And whereas racist policies continued into the 20th century with the Immigration Act of 1924, effectively banning all immigration from Asia, Executive Order 9066 in 1942, authorizing the incarceration of Japanese Americans during World War II, and others that have impacted Southeast Asian Americans, South Asians, Muslims, and Sikhs, among others. And whereas the use of anti-Asian rhetoric, especially as it intensified this past year, has resulted in Asian Americans being harassed, assaulted, and scapegoated for the COVID-19 pandemic. And whereas violence and hate crimes against Asian Americans have increased by 150% in major US cities in the last year, and AAPI women made up 68% of the 3,800 reported incidents against AAPIs, of which nearly 70 were in Massachusetts alone, with many more unreported. And whereas no one should live in fear in our communities in the city of Salem and across the United States. And whereas the city of Salem is committed to inclusion and advancing equity and justice for people of all races, national origins, and ethnicities, and now therefore be it resolved by the Salem City Council to condemn racism, xenophobia, and violence of all forms against the Asian American and Pacific Islander community. And be it further resolved that the Salem City Council encourages everyone to condemn anti-Asian bias, read, learn, and seek opportunities to experience cultures other than their own, review their practices that may create barriers or contribute to systemic racism, and in these ways and others, to seek to become a more welcoming, inclusive, and anti-racist community. And be it further resolved that the Salem City Council encourages the Salem Police Department to continue its work with local agencies and community-based organizations to prevent discrimination, expand culturally competent and linguistically appropriate education campaigns on public reporting of hate crimes, and build intentional relationships with our diverse communities. And I move for adoption by roll call vote. Mr. President.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Council Medora. I now yield the chair back to the council president.
Councilor Sargent, if you could assume the chair again so I could say a few words.
Yes, I am. I'm assuming the chair again, and I recognize a good councilor from Ward 2.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm very saddened by the fact that I have to bring forth this resolution, and I want to recognize and acknowledge the pain and trauma that our Asian American and Pacific Islander community here in the city of Salem and across the country have experienced, not only recently and over the past year, but across history. It's important that we understand that some of these stereotypes cannot describe entire minority or ethnic group, and assumptions can be fatal if we allow the space for them to continue, as well as microaggressions, who I personally have experienced very frequently. These microaggressions can turn into real violence, which we have seen across the country. And the idea of a model minority myth, I think most people do not recognize that this model minority myth, it does make a false comparison between different minority groups and ethnicities, and it is particularly harmful to the struggles of other groups in our communities. It's used to minimize the struggles of communities, especially Black and Latino communities, to make a false comparison that that racism can be overcome by hard work and strong family values, which is to undercut the centuries of struggles that other groups like the Black and Latino communities have experienced. So it's important to highlight that, and I want to use this opportunity to encourage everyone in our communities and here in Salem to speak and share their experiences. And first, and secondly, always report hate crimes. It's the Salem Police Department takes these incidents very seriously, and without addressing these incidents, we will only allow it the space to continue. So I'm really glad that we have this opportunity to highlight these struggles, but also wish that I didn't have to submit it. And I appreciate everyone's support on this resolution. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Council Medora. I can't see all the other councilors, so I'm going to yield the presidency back over to you So you can call on them. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President. I think we all need to thank you for bringing this matter forward. It was very well read, and it's much needed. So thank you again. And I'm sorry that you had to be the recipient of some of this. It's really uncalled for and it's wrong. It needs to be said that it's wrong. They are our neighbors. They're our friends. They're part of our community, not just in Salem, throughout the whole United States, the whole world. We don't have to treat people, no matter what their color is or anything else. We need to treat them all as though they're our friends. And we'd have a much better planet, a much better city, on and on. I want to thank Farrah Wolfson and Fay Ho for their work on this as well and their support of this. We all received a wonderful letter from them. So again, Madam President, thank you for bringing this forward.
Thank you. Counselor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. You have my complete support on this, unequivocally. And something I would like to add quickly is just that it's not about they, and that's one of the problems that I think people have. There's no they, there's us. And Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders, Latinos, all these groups that people like to scapegoat and like to set on and commit violence acts against and commit discrimination against, they're us. We're all, bottom line is we're all just people. And some of us may speak a little differently or look a little differently, but it doesn't matter because we're people. And so many of us lose sight of that, and they wind up doing utterly awful things that they think are justified against people. And you know, Asian Americans have been scapegoated for a long time, pretty much ever since they first came to this country, you know, on a large basis back in the 1800s. There's been, you know, awful discrimination. We've had just a lot of terrible things have been done by Americans who felt either so comfortable that they could pick on other people, or so threatened that they felt that they needed to pick on other people. But either way, that's just not the case, and it's wrong. And I've seen far too much of it in my years, you know, not just my years doing public work. And this is something that should not happen, period.
Thank you. Counselor Marcello.
Thank you, Madam President. It's kind of jarring to go from the previous two resolutions celebrating the careers of the police chief and the fire chief to a resolution that has to remind us that all of our neighbors are equal and they all deserve the respect and support that we give to everyone. You have my full support on this. I'm sad that you had to bring it, but I thank you for bringing it, for raising our attention to this matter.
Thank you. Counselor McCarthy, then Hapworth, Parsnewski, and Riccardi.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to echo what was just said. First of all, I'm sorry this happened to you personally at one point, and I'm sorry that it happens to anyone. And I want to thank you for your leadership. And I want to thank you. We spent a couple of years sitting next to each other, leaning in, having those quick conversations during a meeting. And, we were all there we weren't there when your kids were born, but we've seen them. We saw you as they were brought into the chambers and as into God, I'm like making a. But anyway, you know what I'm trying to say. We saw you become a mother, and you're raising two beautiful children. And I love it when you post something on Facebook with your kids. I miss when we were able to go to events and you'd bring the kids and they'd be running around, and they're great kids. And I just hope that when they grow up in a world that they don't have to witness this or be, have something of this occur to them, because it is horrific. And I just want to thank you for bringing this in and bringing it back to our attention and grounding us in the fact that it can occur here, and that we all have to be diligent and we all have to be aware of what our actions are as we, interact with people in our own community. And I want to once again thank you for bringing this in.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Hapworth.
Thank you, Madam President. And I think that I appreciate you bringing this forward. And I think there was a comment made earlier in the meeting that said something to the effect of, we can't assume that it can't happen here in Salem. And I think we appreciate living in a community like Salem, and we pat ourselves on the back a lot. And I think that can be dangerous sometimes to assume that something like that can't happen here. And you mentioned your experience, which I've heard before, and it's something that I think that is something that I don't experience and that others don't experience. And I think this last year has been eye-opening for me, and I assume it's been eye-opening for others, that racism isn't a rock through a window. That's easy to see, and we can all, no matter what your color of skin is, you can see that, and you can see when that's happening, when it's not happening. But the experiences that someone goes through on a daily basis, the way they're interacted with, the way they're spoken to, I think that those are things that we all need to open our eyes to. So I appreciate you bringing that forward, and I think that we all hopefully can continue to do better as we move forward.
Thank you. Appreciate those comments. Councillor Przanowski is next.
Just amazes me that in 2021 we're having this discussion like it's 1882 or 1942, and we're going to be lumped in with that. Future generations are going to look back and see how embarrassing this was, at how we acted at this time in our lives. But I also think that this council represents this community, and we are taking an action as a council, condemning these actions and representing our community, that we don't stand for this. So hopefully our future generations will see that those of us all sitting in these chambers tonight stood our ground, condemning these actions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Riccardi.
Thank you, Madam President. And thank you for your leadership. Thank you for writing this and for your words this evening. I'm sorry that this needs to be written, but it does. And I appreciate you taking on that task, which is not a light one. Things that I am learning in the past year or so is that if we don't stand up and speak out together, we're supporting this violence and hatred. So I appreciate now having this opportunity to stand together. And standing up to this, to anti-Asian racism is a role that we need to take on and consider the importance of it. We must be allies and work together. And again, I truly appreciate your words this evening. And thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Next, I have Councillor Flynn.
Thank you, Madam President. I also want to thank you for bringing this in and bringing attention to this. I'm so sorry you went through this in Salem, the city that we all love. But I'm glad that people can see this and understand that there is a problem that needs to be addressed, and that we all have to work together to treat everyone equally and just and fairly. So again, I want to thank you, and I apologize that you went through that in the city. Thank you again.
Thank you, Councillor. Appreciate it. Councillor Dominguez.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to thank you also for your brave and leadership. And I wanted to tell you that I know how you feel. And I also wanted to express that I condemn any type of racist to anyone. Like it was said before, we are human beings, no matter what shape or form we're coming from. I've been through many of those incidents, but I have to say that particularly here in Salem, there are more good people who understand that we are one than the less that we are, even though we need to be proactive, and I understand that, and I think that's a good approach by bringing this order will help not only educate some of the public, but also understand that what you're going through and what others going through. And we need to avoid that situation, not only for us, but for the new generation. Like I always say, my grandchildren's who might be in different situation because they born in a different environment that I born, might be willing to have a better world, better city, a better country. And I hopefully see that we continue to work together toward that. And I thank not only the city of Salem in general, but I thank this body because the way I see it, it is basically everyone care about others. Everyone really, really matter about we any difference. I've been having the fortunate to be among each one of you, even though we had differences. That doesn't really change in any type of form. But at the end of the day, we are one. And I want to thank you once again for your brave. And I also condemn any type of racist, any type of hate. I don't think this is not allowed here in Salem and in anywhere. But as you mentioned in the motion order, I think that we need to continue to be proactive and need to be working together to make sure that that doesn't happen anymore. And we're sorry for what happened to you.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, before we take a roll call, I just want to, Counselor Sargent, I'm sorry, you're at the bottom of my screen. Counselor Sargent. You want to unmute yourself, Counselor? We can't hear you and we cannot see you either. Try that. Councilor Sargent, you there? What do we do? Oh, there he is. You're still muted, but we can see you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I got it. I got knocked off and had to get put back on again.
Oh.
I'm so sorry, everybody. Thank you very much. Whatever events happen in history, whether it's 9/11 or World War II or this pandemic, nobody has a right to bother anybody for any reason on the streets of our country. That's not the premise that we're founded upon. And I sorry to see anything like that happen to anybody anywhere in our country or in the world for that matter. But I remember when you were first elected and you were having a baby and I walked you home a few times and you looked at me a little bit funny. But I was just thinking if my daughter was in that condition, well, would I want someone to walk her home and not have her walking alone? So and I'll be there anytime, next time before you ask. Thank you.
Thank you. I remember those walks. They were brief, but I remember them. I really appreciate everyone's comments and really heartened by everyone joining in solidarity to support this resolution. And with that, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Torrio?
Yes.
Councilor Sargent?
Yes.
Riccardi?
Yes.
Councilor Prosnewski?
Yes.
Councilor Marcillo?
Yes.
Councilor McCarthy?
Yes.
Councilor Hapworth?
Yes.
Councilor Flynn?
Yes.
Councilor Dominguez?
Yes.
Councilor Dibble?
I heard him say yes.
Councilman Dorr and Councilman Dorr.
Yes. On the matter of resolution, condemning acts of hate and violence against Asian American and Pacific Islanders, we have 11 councilors voting, 11 affirmative, the matter carries. None in negative, the matter carries. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Dominguez.
Thank you, Madam President. Order to institute immediately a temporary moratorium on the review of projects pertaining to new constructions on Salem floodplains and wetlands by the city's board and commission with attention to alterations of existing residential structures. In consideration of the number of development and construction projects proposed for the floodplains and wetlands, while the City Council worked to amend Salem Ordinance 8.1, Flood House Overlay District, upon the concerns of the Planning Board and the Conservation Commission, and the need to preserve and restore the viability of the floodplains and wetlands of the City of Salem. The following order should be implemented until such time as the amended to the Ordinance 8.1 Flood House Overlay District is completely effective Friday, March 26, 2021. The city is suspending all review pertaining to development plans for projects on floodplains and wetlands that are new or pending for approval. Upon issuance of the order, all board and commission meeting agenda will not include any discussion or proposed development and construction approval in Salem floodplains and wetland. Proposal for the alteration to existing residential structure located in the floodplains and wetland will be permitted on municipal agendas with the need for the amended ordinance taken into consideration. For purpose of this order, review of new construction proposal in floodplains and wetlands will not be permitted at any city board or commission until the ordinance 8.1 flood hazard and overlay district has been amended to provide needed protections for the Salem floodplains and wetlands. Proposal for the alterations to existing residential structure located in the floodplains and wetland will be accepted for consideration with the need for amendment to the noted ordinance in mind. In addition, the city will, on a case-by-case basis, review requests for extension to the time allowed for development proposals that may be granted by the Planning Board and Conservation Commission. This order is effective Friday, March 26, 2021, through Monday, September 26, 2021, or the date the needed amended to the Ordinance 8.1 Flood House Overlay District has been completed by the City Council. New projects in our floodplains and wetlands cannot be presented or approved during the time. Any person who violates this order will be subjected to issuance of an immediate stop order and an assessment on the maximum penalty authorized by the law. And I move for adoption by roll call vote.
Councilor Dominguez moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Yes, thank you. Briefly, I just wanted to express that this is just an intention for have a temporary moratorium on reviewing projects in our floodplains and wetlands until our ordinance is amended. I think that we've seen so many projects getting permit throughout before we amended that ordinance. I think it's very important that we have something in place. And for the meantime, I think that we should put a moratorium to hold and wait until we work on the amendment that is smaller. So as soon as we finish with that, I think that we can continue to approve whatever projects that we think that need to be happening. It's very important that we understand that we need to preserve our environment. We need to protect our residents. I always have the beauty of hear from people from other cities and towns that we live in a very, very beautiful piece of land, but we are very risky because we are near the water. If we cannot take that into consideration and we don't act quickly, we can be inconsequential with some damage, not only for us, but for the new generation. So this is only the intention. It's an idea to put that hole until we can really have something amended. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilor Marcelo.
Thank you, Madam President. Not sure where to begin with this. I want to first say that in this motion, in this order, there's a call out to the Planning Board and the Conservation Commission, and there is an indication that they somehow had something to do with this order. I called Kurt Reeder from the Planning Board. I called Greg St. Louis from the Conservation Commission. Both of them said they never asked for this. They do not support this order. Dead stop. Greg St. Louis also suggested that people go back to last Tuesday's Conservation Commission meeting where this subject was brought up by Ms. Kraft to get the Conservation Commission to support this idea of a moratorium. And he made it very clear at that meeting that he did not support it, and he gave his reasons, and people can go back and listen to that meeting. In addition, I don't think that this is legal, this order. It might be nice to have this as a discussion in a committee, but for us to vote on this as it's written, I think is illegal. And I will bring up a few points here. First of all, and this is just an aside, the wetlands and the flood hazard overlay are two separate things. The wetlands are not at all discussed in 8.1 flood hazard overlay district, but calling out wetlands in this as if it has something to do with 8.1 is an error. In addition, we do not build anywhere in wetlands. There is no building in wetlands. What the conversation is about is the buffer area around wetlands. It's very important that people understand what they're submitting to the City Council. So, a couple other things. There's no end date certain on this order, right? You have a date in here of September 26th or whenever an amendment to 8.1 is, what's the word? Completed by the City Council. What does completed mean? I have no idea what completed means. Written, approved, what does it mean? What if the work of this wetlands working group does not make any changes to 8.1 of the flood hazard overlay district? What happens then? What if all the work is around the wetlands ordinance and regulations for the Conservation Commission? Then what happens? Do we never do away with this moratorium if it's voted? So without a date certain to end this, I'm not sure what's going on there and whether that is legal. Then there's also the concern about projects that are already before our boards and commissions, changing the rules while they're in the process, a process that we have given to them as a method to get through the permitting. To change those midway through, I'm not sure if that, I'm not sure how fast that would bring us to court. Set aside how many people would bring us to court over that. Then there's no provision in here for commercial properties in the flood areas, the flood hazard overlay areas. So what happens if a commercial property has a devastating event, a fire, something where they need to rebuild? Well, while we have this moratorium, there is no pathway for them to get approvals to rebuild. Okay. And then, the end is one of the most head-scratching parts. The penalties that we're going to place on our volunteer boards and commissions if they happen to take up one of these projects that someone in this very vaguely written order decides isn't appropriate. So now what are we going to do with these volunteers that are spending their time working on these projects, helping the city? We're going to assess the maximum penalty authorized by law. I'd like to know what that is and where this falls. So I think I'll stop there and let others have a say here. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. The first thing I want to say is to say absolutely everything that the Ward 3 councilor just said, completely. But on top of that, what I'd like to add is that I understand that there's concern over some of the building that takes place and some of the projects that are proposed in Salem. I also, agreeing with the points that the Ward 3 councilor made, we already have rules and laws about not building in the wetlands. We have buffer zones to wetlands that are currently handled in permitting by the Conservation Commission, and those we're looking at. I know that the Ward 3 councilor is working with the Conservation Commission and boards to see what we can do to improve and or strengthen them. And I think there are some places where some of our protections do absolutely need to be strengthened. Also, there are concerns about what we build in a flood hazard area. And I think our boards have generally done a very good job of making sure that things that are proposed in flood prone areas are designed with resilience in mind, are designed to be able to mitigate potential water damage. And there's always an element, if you build in a floodplain, of buyer beware, that if you're building something and it's not a project that can handle the sea level rise, that can handle the flooding, it shouldn't be built. It shouldn't be permitted. And we have watch guards to make sure of that. So, and again, this as proposed would effectively halt anything, including all the scenarios that were already mentioned. And it doesn't really bring anything to the table that I think advances us. And there's a lot of things that we can and should be doing here to protect the environment in Salem and protect the coastline in Salem. And I'm fully on board with the idea of doing that. But this is really just another poke at stopping all development because Salem is overbuilt. And that's the mantra we've been hearing in recent months. And this is really, when you take a look at this on the face, it's just a bite at that particular apple. And I don't see this. We need to improve our protections. We probably need to also come up with improvements to some of that process, but we don't need this. We don't need to stop things entirely. There are things that we should probably be slow walked, but we don't need to stop things entirely. And I don't see any reason or way to support something like this moratorium, particularly in the form it's taken. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Madam President. I won't reiterate everything that the Ward 3 and Ward 5 councilors said, but I will point out that this was filed, and all of us found out about this on a Tuesday. We're voting on it on a Thursday, and it takes effect on a Friday. It has not been reviewed by the city solicitor. It has not been reviewed by any of the local boards, the Conservation Commission, the Planning Board. I don't have any understanding of what beyond what I'm reading and the hours that I've spent trying to understand what this would mean. I'm not sure that any of us understand what the actual impacts of this would be and what projects would be impacted and what we're doing. And I just hope this is not the way we're going to govern moving forward. We have to be collaborative with each other and with local boards. If we're just putting ordinances in front of each other and not reaching out and not going through a process, then I don't think we're going to get much done over the next year. So I hope that this is the end of this sort of thing, and that we can work towards common sense solutions. I also support working within that buffer zone to create a no build zone and a no touch zone. It is going to take some work, and I don't know that doing something like this is the answer. If we want to put this in committee, I'm happy to have this discussion in committee so we can actually have an understanding of what we're actually doing here. But I'll go with the will of the body on this.
Thank you. Councillor Riccardi.
Thank you, Madam President. I would just like to echo the at-large councillor's comments about receiving this on a Tuesday and expected to vote on it on a Thursday with just so many questions and zero outreach on intent, legal ramifications, what a lot of it means. I think we obviously are all environmentalists here, at least I like to believe that. And we all want to protect Salem and we all want what's best for Salem. But we need to be methodical about what we do and smart about what we do. And we need to communicate and work with each other and not just, do things without communicating, without reaching out, without working together. It's not, there's a lot of work and effort that needs to go into this, as I'm sure fellow Ward 3 councillor is very well aware of. As she's been working with the city boards and conservation committees and planning departments, this is a very complicated topic. I feel like I barely gleam the surface of it, and I am entrenched in it as well with the development along the North River, with the BHSC subcommittee. Like, there's a lot in here, and I think we need more than 48 hours to review even just this idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd have to agree with some of the comments that are being said here tonight, but we need to take some action on this. So I applaud the good Councillor Dominguez for bringing this forward. We can nitpick over all the words and legalities of it, on and on. And I agree that we should do it and do it right and get it right when and if we do this thing. But I want to clarify a couple points that were just raised. You all know that I worked for the city of Salem for some 14 years, long before I was a city councilor, decades before I became a city councilor. Worked in the private sector for 20 years after I left the city. But when I did work for the city, I was one of my many hats, I was conservation administrator. And I can attest firsthand that our existing ordinances back then have not changed. Or if they have changed, it's very, very minor change. They're pretty bad. They were poorly worded decades ago, and they're still poorly worded. They need to be corrected and fixed. I think anybody who reads the ordinance, the two ordinances, would agree to that. It's untrue. We do allow construction in wetlands, not just in the buffer zone, in the wetlands. That wetlands would have to be replicated, which it seldom ever works. So it is possible to build in wetlands. I've heard that thrown out a few times. I've seen it happen in Salem several times where we permitted it to construction to be built in the wetlands. It's untrue that this ordinance will stop all development. So I have to disagree with the Ward 5 councilor's comments just now. This would affect development that's happening in our resource areas or next to our resource areas, not in probably 80% of the city or so. So lots of development could go forward and not be bothered by this moratorium. In September, some 2,000 residents asked us to update both our wetlands and our floodplain ordinances and to have it done by, I think it was December 31st or the end of December 2020. I'm not sure, I don't think it ever came before the city council though. So I'm not sure what happened to it there, but I heard, and I'm the liaison president, the liaison for the Conservation Commission. I do attend their meetings, and I heard that they had just received it about 5 or 6 weeks ago. I forget the exact, I'll say 6 weeks to be safe. So there was a period of from September until February where the Concom never got this request, and that's too bad. So it sat somewhere. And I'd like to find out where that 2,000 signature petition actually went. And correct me if I'm wrong, Madam President, I don't think it came to us. but the need is there. So we can hem and haw about all the words and the legalities. I believe the good Councilor Dominguez did bring this to the city solicitor for review. I'm not sure if he got an opinion back yet or not, but I actually co-sponsored this originally. I didn't see the original wording that was submitted, but I would like to make I'd recommend some changes to this wording. In particular, the original request from the almost 2,000 residents asked us to update both our local ordinances. We have two. In this document, we're just talking about the floodplain, 8.1, the flood hazard overlay district. So I'd like to throw out a very friendly amendment to the good at large Councilor Dominguez, that we add not just the flood hazard overlay district that's written in here, but we also add the Wetlands Protection and Conservation Ordinance, Chapter 50, Wetlands Protection and Conservation. That would it would include the buffer zone and the wetlands, the traditional wetlands, not just the flood hazard overlay district. So that would be my motion. Again, I'll just let me clarify what I'm asking for. A simple, friendly amendment to add into this document to include the Wetlands Protection Act, excuse me, not the Wetlands Protection Act. Friendly amendment to add the Wetlands Protection and Conservation Ordinance, Chapter 50, Wetlands Protection and Conservation. So again, Madam President, to be clear, there are two ordinances that some 2,000 residents were asking us to correct. This document only says one. I think it was an oversight. We simply need to add the local wetlands protection ordinance to this document. And I ask for a second. Thank you.
Councilor Dibble moves to amend the order to add Chapter 50 Wetlands Protection Ordinance somewhere in this paragraph. Seconded by Councilor Sargent. Under discussion, Councilor Dominguez.
Thank you, Madam President. I accept the friendly amendment from the good Councilor Ward 7. And I would like to not to respond to anyone directly because I don't have every details on hand, but I had to say a couple of things that I think that are very important for us to keep in mind. One of the things that I keep listening is that volunteers, the board are volunteers, and we also are volunteers, but we represent the people. And my command coming from the people. I hear so many people crying out. We need to have some action in this matter. And I think that I mentioned that in my last comment, in the last meeting we had. I might not be an expert, but I know how to listen to people concerned. And not only that, I also have my family living here near the water. I see so many things happen, and I know everyone agrees that we need to protect, but we need to have some actions. Now, this intention is only to hold because we see so many developers. And I think that even though some of my colleagues do not want it admit, we have so many of the development in Salem, and we need to be very careful on how we approve any more development. It's too much. Enough is enough, and you hear the people. It's not us. If you go anywhere you go, you're going to hear people crying. This is about time that we focus on the quality of life of where we live at. By doing this, we're protecting the environment. We're protecting our people. And we're saying that we're going to have a hold until we have this amended ordinance that is very important. Action needs to be happening. I don't see that action happen. I feel that sometimes that when we might disagree with one of us, the communication factor is not there. I call a few of my colleagues present here tonight. I call the city solicitor, and I call for people. This is actions. Even though you agree or disagree, the reason why we bring it in today is because we need to put attention to something that we think at the end is going to create some issue. When we see the inventory of what's going on, when we finish with the amended order, we don't want to have nothing to protect. at the end of the day, because everything is already happening. And that's what we hear from the people, from the public. We need to have something in place before we continue to approve any other project. We don't want to jeopardize any projects in effect. What we're doing is any new projects, we just say we can hold until we finish. I hear the good council of Ward 3 saying that there is no time limits in there. Time is there. Monday 26th, September 26th, or if the committee work to finish the amendment order that is in place. I don't think that we can continue to wait that long. That cannot happen in a period of almost 4 or 5 months. In the meantime, we've seen so many developers going through, our people getting scary. The situation in the environment is being worse and worse and worse. What are we waiting for? We're waiting something to happen so we can say, okay, that was the time. No, we need to protect our sea level city. I'm actually continue to say that this is an intention that we need to work on it. It's not a matter of I bringing something because I think this is the best that can happen. When I move myself, it's because I hear people behind me say we need to do this, and I listening to them. This is a actions that I hear the people asking for. If you want through your email, you're gonna see so many people responding to these actions, saying this is the time that we need to have a moratorium. And I jail. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. I just want to remind you that's the second and final time I recognize you on this question. And the friendly amendment, I don't believe we need to vote on that. Is that correct, Madam City Clerk? Or Madam Assistant City Clerk?
I would vote on that amendment. I wouldn't, any amendment really should be put in writing and voted on, such as that. So that's my opinion.
Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I have Councilor Dominguez, whose name is at the bottom of this order, and I have Councilor Dibble saying that he co-sponsored it and who admits to the fact that he didn't read it. And in Councilor Dominguez's statements just right now, he says he's contradicting himself because if Councilor Dibble didn't write it and Councilor Dominguez doesn't understand what he put in front of us, then I don't understand why we're talking about, because it says right in here, it says, effective Friday, March 26, 2021, the city is suspending all reviews pertaining to development plans for projects on floodplains and wetlands that are new or pending full approval. So with that, it doesn't say just all new projects, it says, or pretending new, plans that are already in the queue. You can't change the game in the middle of the game if someone's already in the queue. So, and it's not our job right here, right now, to go through this whole document and try to figure out what's legal and not legal and what's right and what's not right. Because I will tell you, when I saw this on Tuesday, I sent a text to the city solicitor, very simply. Hey, will you look at the council agenda and look at Councilor Dominguez's order? I'll give you a call tomorrow. I made that phone call. Guess what? She had never seen it, never heard about it, and she had some concerns. I followed up with a phone conversation today. She says there is some case precedent this. I haven't had time to put it together. Councilor Dominguez called me this morning. I'm sorry, that's not good practice. Good practice would be, if you're going to bring in an order like this, is to have a conversation with the person who represents us legally. That would be the city solicitor, to make sure it's done properly. Then you make a phone call to the city, the city planner, and you find out, okay, what projects currently do we have in, pick one, the wetlands. Okay, what's in the wetlands right now? Oh, Bagel World development's in the wetlands. So as of tomorrow, now we can't have a discussion about Bagel World wanting to redo their drive-through because they're in the wetlands? Because No one made a phone call to say, hey, what's going on? Before we bring this in, let's have a discussion to make sure we're not going to interrupt anything. Or, I don't know, I realize there's 2,000 people that signed a petition, and I agree that we need to make sure that the rules and everything is proper for the wetlands and for the flood zones. But I also hear from a whole bunch of people that want to be able to get the new Wi-Fi. And guess what? Some of their proposed locations for their boxes are in the wetlands. So therefore, now we're going to stop the process of allowing them to be reviewed. So now we're going to put a moratorium on a company that we contracted with to go out until end of September before they can get their locations or where they're going to put their boxes so that the city of Salem can get new Wi-Fi. I understand the intent, but the problem is the intent without a conversation behind the scenes with the proper people to understand what the ramifications are and what potential good, there's a potential good to it, and there's also a potential unintended wrong to it. I understand the idea of a moratorium, but the way this is written is wrong. It doesn't work. There's so many unintended things that are going to occur that it's just not right. So if the will is, because the way it's written is to have a vote on it tonight, I can't support it because I know for a fact that the city solicitor hasn't had the full time to vet it out and to understand all the case law regards to putting a moratorium in place with actually out taking a vote. And when the way it's written, it specifically references a zoning ordinance 8.1. And if you're going to put a moratorium on a zoning ordinance, I believe, and I'm wrong, I may be wrong, and I'll admit to the fact I am not a lawyer. I did not go to law school, but I also know that if you're going to put a moratorium specifically relative to an ordinance, that may require that you have a public hearing and a joint meeting between the planning board and the city council in order to even put a moratorium on a specifically referenced ordinance. It's just the way it's written. It's not correct. And I don't think we should be taking the time tonight, right now, to try to, I understand the intentions of what it's supposed to do, but no one reviewed how it was written. It's basically flawed, even though the intent may be good, the way it's written is flawed. And we're not going to we don't have the city solicitor with us tonight in order to try to figure this out. And it's going to take more than the next 10 minutes to figure this out. So if the will is to amend it by Council Dibble's short amendment and then take a vote on it tonight, I'll be voting no. If it's to send this thing to committee and try to fix it or try to see if it can be fixed, then I'm not sure. But the current way it's written, it's the intent, which I agree that, as some other people have stated, we really need to look at the floodplains and the ramifications. But the way it looks is it just realized that they heard a whole bunch of, whoever wrote this heard a whole bunch of complaints from people who live in floodplains because, I live in a neighborhood that part of the neighborhood is in a floodplain. Now, if all of a sudden, so it addresses those issues because the people who live in a floodplain, if they were looking to do something to their house, it says, we'll forgive the residential sections, but, we're just concerned about everything else, but, without understanding what that would do. It's just poorly written. I don't know who wrote it. That'd be the first question I would ask in committee is who actually wrote this and what the intent was, because what the intent isn't what I think, from the discussions, what's doing, because the way it's written is bad. And that's just my opinion. So if the will is to put it to a vote tonight, my answer would be no. And if the will is maybe to throw it in the committee to figure out and have the city solicitor take a look at it, because I do believe that there is some legal flaws with it. But once again, where it only came in on Tuesday, the city solicitor didn't even get a chance to see it until really take a quick look at it Wednesday afternoon. And when I talked to her today, she was, I think, coming out of a third or fourth Zoom meeting, and she didn't have to give it the due diligence that I think it really needs. So, and I think it also speaks volumes to what the Ward 3 councilor said when she reached out to the two boards, and they basically, when this issue was brought up in front of one of them, they wholeheartedly said no. So It's just tough to swallow that, it's put out there to the public that this is what we're trying to do to protect the environment, where no one had a conversation with anyone else with any of the boards or commissions that's what they're entrusted to do. So I've said enough.
Thank you. Councilor Riccardi.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll be brief. I just wanted to comment that I understand the desire and the want to take action, because we're in a climate crisis. We should be taking action, but I don't necessarily know if this order is the correct. I know that this order is not the correct action that we need to take. I would like to just remind us of a few actions that we have in flight that we can learn about. The ADUs, which are coming up for conversation next week. Those are gentle growth that are great for the environment because they're reusing existing structures. We have the Green Building Ordinance, which is in conversation with the Public Health, Safety, and Environment Committee. Houses and buildings are our biggest carbon footprint in the city. So we definitely want to improve those and make sure that we're not building without green building in mind. So I hope all of us environmentalists support that as well and help put some action into that to get that passed and to get that support that's needed, because stopping building in floodplains is not going to stop flooding. What's going to stop flooding? Reducing our carbon footprint, living green lives, but the trees that we're going to talk about in a little bit. So there are actions that can be taken, and we need to be smart about our actions. I just wanted to remind, there's also the Urban Agriculture Ordinance, which is also in public health, safety, and the environment. Another great action that we can take as a committee or as a council together. So I just wanted to quickly remind everyone of there are some actions going on, including the conversations that are currently going on around this very complicated issue of 8.1 and I don't even remember what the wetland ordinance that fellow Councilor Dibble just mentioned, but there are these conversations and these actions going on, and I hope we all support and are a part of those conversations. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Marcillo. Is your second and final comment?
Thank you, Madam President. I want to be clear that voting against this as it's written is not anti-environment. It's anti-getting us into a legal mess, period. The way it's written as an emergency zoning ordinance. There's no other time that I know of that we would take an immediate vote on a zoning ordinance without sending it to a committee to have discussion. This is crazy. It's crazy. I've pointed out just a few of the issues with the text as it's written. As an emergency zoning ordinance brought to us, it has still not been clear what the emergency is, what property before the boards is the emergency, what is the concern specifically at what address, what is the concern, what is the emergency. I've heard my fellow councilors mention that for years, these wetlands ordinances have sat there and should have been changed. I was in my first year on the city council, 3/4 through my first year, when I recognized the fact that we needed to work on this. And I've been pushing since then to get the right people into the room to talk about this. And the right people are the members of the planning board, the members of the Conservation Commission, the planning department, and other groups in Salem. And I'm doing that. There are other members in this council that have sat on this council for several years, knowing that the updates were needed and did not do it and did not bring an emergency zoning ordinance before the body to stop all development until it was changed. I have yet to hear any sort of explanation about what the emergency is. And there is no end date on this. I will again state that. There is no end date because it's tied to an action, which is not even a clear action. Thank you.
Madam President, I know that we have a rule that we
No, Councilor Dominguez, I need to enforce the rules that I apply across all the councilors, so I appreciate you respect that. Councilor Sargent.
Thank you, Madam President. Whenever we talk about committee of the whole, in essence, what we've been doing for this whole issue is like what a committee of the whole meeting would be like, breaking into a meeting about this issue in the middle of a council meeting. So I really think the proper thing to do is just refer this to committee, please. I motion to refer it to committee.
Councilor Sargent moves to refer the matter to which committee? Committee of the whole? You said?
I'm assuming Biola, Legal Affairs.
Councilor co-posted?
Yes, please.
Councilor Sargent moves to refer the matter to the Committee on Ordinances, License, and Legal Affairs, co-posted with Committee of the Whole.
I'll second that. It's worth seeing if it can be salvaged.
Under discussion. So we have two motions on the floor. First, the friendly amendment by Councilor Dibble to add Chapter 50 Wetland Protection Ordinance to the language, the order language, and then the second motion is to refer the matter to committee. I'm going to take up the amendment first.
Point of order, Madam President.
Councilor Trejo.
Thank you. I believe because we have not yet acted on that motion, I think the motion to commit takes precedence, particularly because that amendment could be done in committee if that's the case as well. So the motion to commit takes precedence over the motion to amend.
Thank you. Councilor Sargent, so we're still under discussion for deferral. Councilor Sargent, if you could assume the role of chair.
Thank you, Madam President. I assume the role of the chair, and I recognize the good counsel from Ward 2.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think as an elected representative, I take the job seriously when a zoning or an order that has impact in the way we build and use our land resources come before us like this. And I think my constituents would ask me to be a responsible representative by doing my homework before taking a vote. And to me, doing that homework is reaching out to city officials and board and commission members that have jurisdiction over these decisions that we ultimately make. And I did that by speaking to a few of the planning board members who all said that they did not ask for this, they do not support it, and they feel that this is a counterproductive order. I did not speak directly with the Conservation Commission, but I have also heard from Councilor from Ward 3 that the overall consensus is that they did not ask for it and do not support it. I reached out to the planning director, Tom Daniel, to get a list of active projects that are currently under review by these boards, Planning Board, Conservation Commission, and the SRA that are within these jurisdictions, wetlands, and the flood hazard overlay district. I got a list back, and I'm glad that the good councilor from Ward 1 cited some of the examples, and I'm particularly concerned about that this moratorium would have inadvertently impacted our economic development, especially Bagel World. I don't think you want to piss off anybody who goes to Bagel World religiously. And the Sci-Fi Network, who we have a contractual obligation with to complete the work they're doing currently. So I'm deeply concerned about the impact of this moratorium without further discussion by any of the members that have to enforce this and have to review these projects. I also spoke with the city solicitor several times, and she has real concerns about the legality and the possibility of putting the city into liability of anyone who might want to take us up in court. And lastly, I just want to say that characterizing anyone who votes against this order as not being an environmentalist is just uncalled for. It is because I personally am an environmentalist that I'm taking this process seriously. That is already ongoing by our planning staff, planning board member, conservation commissions. Just recalling the amount of time that we spent looking and discussing and deliberating all the zoning ordinances in 2020, the months and even years that we spent discussing those ordinances and ultimately not having any of them passed, it is because I truly take this issue seriously about building on wetlands and flood hazard overlay district that I think it deserves the same amount of discussion and attention and analysis that it deserves. Not an order that was filed on Wednesday, voted on Thursday, and going into effect on Friday. It is irresponsible for me to support something like this. And I am deeply concerned that this is the way that we are legislating. I would have appreciated a courtesy call from the good at-large counselor to explain what this order meant so that I could better understand the intent. And I agree with many of you that we need to improve the way that we build on our land resources. And when I was looking at the information that the planning staff provided me, I did see one project that was denied by the planning board just last year because it encroached upon a wetland buffer at Story Street. So they are actually doing their job that is provided by our current ordinances. This process deserves the kind of care and attention that we have taken over the past year and not just do it in 3 to 4 days. So if this comes to a vote tonight, I am not going to support it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Council Madore. Madam President, please assume the chair.
Thank you, Councilor. The motion on the floor is to refer the matter to the Committee on Ordinances, License, Legal Affairs, close to the Committee of the Whole. Seeing no further discussion, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Torrio,
Yes.
Council Sargent,
Yes.
Council Riccardi,
Yes.
Council Prosnewski,
Yes.
Council Marcillo,
Yes.
Council McCarthy,
Yes.
Council Hapworth,
Yes.
Council Flynn,
Yes.
Council Dominguez,
Yes.
Council Dibble,
Yes.
and Council Madore.
No. On the matter of the order regarding the flood hazard overlay district and the moratorium on the ordinance, we have 11 councilors voting, 10 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative. The matter carries. The matter is referred to committee. Go post it. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Marcillo. Just counting how many? Oh, there's 4.
Sure. Thank you, Madam President. In the year 2021, an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to traffic, Chapter 42, Section 50B, handicap zones, limited time. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salem as follows. Section 1, amending 42, Section 50B, handicap zones, limited time is hereby amended by renewing the following. Hathorn Street, 1 handicap parking spot to be renewed in front of number 74 Hathorn Street for the distance of 20 feet. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect as provided by city charter. In the year 2021, an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to traffic, Chapter 42, Section 50B, handicap zones, limited time. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salem as follows. Section 1, amending Chapter 42, Section 50B, handicap zones, limited time is hereby amended by repealing the following. Hathorn Street, repeal, 1 handicap parking spot in front of number 75 Hathorn Street for a distance of 20 feet. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect as provided by city charter. In the year 2021, an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to traffic, Chapter 42, Section 50B, handicap zones, limited time, be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salem as follows. Section 1, amending Chapter 42, Section 50B, handicap zones, limited time, is hereby amended by repealing the following. Hathorne Street, repeal 1 handicap parking spot in front of number 80 to 82 Hathorne Street for a distance of 20 feet. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect as provided by city charter. In the year 2021, an ordinance relative to traffic, Chapter 42, Section 49, be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salem as follows. Section 1, Chapter 42, Section 49 of Article 4 shall be amended by adding the following. Dodge Street, obedience to isolated stop signs, easterly bound traffic on Dodge Street at Lafayette Street. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect as provided by city charter. And I move for adoption for first passage by roll call vote.
Thank you, Councilor Marcillo. Councilor Marcillo moves for adoption for first passage by roll call vote. Under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. The first 3 are on Hathorne Street. They're houses that are right across from each other and had several handicapped parking spots. Over the past couple of months, people have moved, people have passed on, and they're down to just one that's necessary. So Lieutenant Tucker went and checked out all the spots and cleaned that up. And so we're keeping one and removing the rest. And I will let someone else speak on the Dodge Street item.
Councilor Carrillo.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. This is very simple. There's not a stop sign coming onto Lafayette Street from Dodge Street, and there needs to be one.
Thank you. Any further discussion on any of the 4 ordinance amendments? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Council Torrio,
Yes.
Council Sargent,
Yes.
Council Riccardi,
Yes.
Council Prosnewski,
Yes.
Council Marcillo,
Yes.
Council McCarthy,
Yes.
Council Hapworth,
Yes.
Council Flynn,
Yes.
Council Dominguez,
Yes.
Council Dibble,
Yes.
and Council Madore.
Yes. On the 4 traffic and parking ordinance amendments, we have 11 councilors voting, 11 affirmative, none negative, the matter carries. Councilor Dibble. Further motions, orders, resolutions. Councilor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem in City Council Thursday, March 25th, 2021. Whereas we want and expect Salem students to get back into the in-school learning, this City Council can do the same and lead by example. Therefore, ordered that the Public Health, Safety, and Environment Committee, co-posted with Committee of the Whole, meet with the Salem Health Agent to discuss and update the council on the pandemic as it pertains to Salem, and to select a date to have this City Council reconvene back in person in City Council chambers to conduct City Council business, again, held in person in the City Council chambers, and determine what COVID safety measures, if any, should be taken. And I move for adoption.
Councilor Dibble moves for adoption. All those in favor? This will be referred to the Committee on Public Health, Safety, and Environment.
That's right.
Co-posted, right?
Yes, please.
Posted. All those in favor? See. I see 11. I see it. Hands are going up and down, up or down. All right. I see 10 hands. The matter carries. Any further orders, motions, and resolutions? Seeing none. Committee reports. Councilor Marcillo.
Madam President, City of Salem and City Council, March 25th, 2021. The Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, to whom was referred the matter of granting certain licenses, has considered said matter and would recommend approval. And I move,
On acceptance of the report, all those in favor? I see 10 hands. All those opposed, seeing none, the matter carries. Adoption of the recommendation. Under discussion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We met tonight to discuss these two, and I would just add a note on the tag day that, again, we will refer that group to the Board of Health and the Health Director to follow whatever the current COVID guidelines are at the time.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none on adoption of the recommendation, all those in favor? I see those hands. I see 11 hands. All those opposed? Seeing none, the matter carries. Further committee reports, Councilor Riccardi.
Thank you, Madam President. The Committee on Public Health, Safety, and Environment co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred the matter of Salem Sound Coast Watch for a presentation of Salem's Greenway Gateway City program, has considered said matter and would recommend the presentation be received and filed.
On acceptance of the report, all those in favor? All those opposed? Seeing none, I see 11 hands. In favor, the matter carries. On acceptance of the report. Under discussion, Councilor Riccardi.
Thank you, Madam President. Earlier this week, a team from Salem Sound Coast Watch and from the Mass Department of Conservation and Recreation, DCR, as well as a member of our tree commission, the chair, Ms. Darlene Mellis, who is still in the audience this evening in case we have any questions. So I just want to say I appreciate that and thank you for sticking it out and being here in case there are questions. They joined us at our committee meeting on Tuesday to present this fabulous program that Salem is now a part of. Salem is, I think, one of 4 communities, and the program is called Greening the Gateway Cities. And the Mass DCR foresters will plant 2,400 trees in Salem, which is just an amazing number. And 2,000 of those trees will be planted on private property with the promise of the homeowners to water their trees for 2 years, to take care of them with, in conjunction with the DCR, and then they become, their trees as they're on their property. The DCR will show up and meet with the homeowner or the landlord if it's a rental property, literally with a binder full of trees, I love that term, and help the homeowner select a tree that will work appropriately for their property. There are some native, non-native, but all not invasive trees, all trees that have been well researched and will work within the property. 400 of those trees will be planted on municipal properties. So they're working with Bob LeBlanc and the city arborist to get those. I believe 40 or so are already on the docket for planting this spring. Barbara Warren of Salem Sound Coast Watch is kind of, I don't know exactly what her official title is, I apologize, is the coordinator, the project coordinator for the city of Salem. So she's helping spearhead the communication of this, which will include flyers being sent to property owners. She has helped, along with Ms. Mellis, creating ward maps, because the one thing that I really want to point out is that it's not the entire city of Salem, unfortunately. There was research done to indicate and to really look at the neighborhoods and see where the heat islands were, to see where the lack of tree canopy was, and where, the areas in the city that are needed for this tree planting and tree regrowth and to replace the trees that have been lost. So, unfortunately, there's one street in Ward 6 that is covered by this tree canopy, but most of the other wards do have, and I think I'll just say we're a pretty green ward, so that's, I guess, a good thing. But most of the other wards have at least a few areas, so definitely reach out and speak with Barbara Warren to find out what streets do qualify in your ward, and they can provide you with a map so it can really get down to the specific areas. And then on that note, if a homeowner or a resident is in your ward and is not in that property zone, the planting zone, I believe they call it, we have this other great program called the Century Tree Program that you can reach out and submit a see-click fix and work with the city arborist, Bob LeBlanc, to get a tree planted as well. So a tree-free trees for everyone. It's fabulous. So it was a great presentation. It's going to be posted on the PHSC website. There's also, the PHSC minutes. There's also a website that you can go to that explains the program. It's massurbancanopy.org. MAurbancanopy.org. You search for Salem and you can look at the ward maps. You can enter in your street address to see if you qualify, and it answers a lot of the questions on there. So it's a summation of the trees for all.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councillor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President. I had the privilege of volunteering with Darlene Millis on the tree committee for 2 years or so. And I apologize if I saw her still in attendance in the audience now 3.5 hours into this meeting almost. I would have moved to take the matter out of order so it could be heard. But I'm wondering, Madam President, if I may, I'd like to move to suspend the rules to allow Darlene Millis and the good council just made a wonderful presentation on it. She did a great job in the chair of the meeting. But I'm wondering if we can suspend the rules for 30 seconds or so to allow Darlene Millis to address the council and to the public who are listening right now on how can residents, who should they contact to receive a tree? If she can just give some of the details a little bit more that she did not do during public testimony earlier tonight.
Councillor Dibble moves to suspend the rules to allow Chair of the Tree Commission, Ms. Mellis, to address the council briefly. I think this is the longest meeting I've overseen so far. Seeing no objection, Darlene, Madam City Clerk, would you unmute Darlene? Thank you.
Thank you. I won't keep you. We're going to put up on the Tree Commission website these elements that you need to be able to click. It's a very specific program. We are like the 14th or 15th community to have this. So they finally have got this figured out. There's got to be much more PR out there. And that's why there's a website and it has multiple pages. One of the most interesting ones, of course, is the page that has all the tree canopy choices that you could possibly want. I've actually chosen a tree from there, from my personal backyard that I'm buying, but it helped me come to a decision. And so next week, go to the Tree Commission website and all that information will be there. It's exactly what Megan said. She's spot on to be hired. She can represent us anywhere. So my big point to say to you is some personal experience right now. The Tree Commission members are helping to update the urban tree canopy study, which was done in 2018. So I just completed Ward 6, Precinct 1. I found 600 locations where trees were planted, where there are now only 500 trees. And since 2018, 47 of those trees disappeared. We are not gaining on this problem. And since all the information that you'll find on that Mass Urban Canopy website says that you'll get the effects in 15 years, this is where the saying goes, when's it a good time to plant a tree? Yesterday. And if not yesterday, today. And that's what I want to urge you. Talk this up. One more thing. All these other communities have struggled to get their 2,000 trees planted. I really want Salem to get it done on schedule within 3 years. But that really takes people to explain to their neighbors, I know it's work to pick up the leaves, but think of the good you're doing, all of us. And that's what it's really going to take. So you guys have the bully pulpits. You get to meetings all over the place. Barbara is just an absolute master of details, but I will back her up. If she can't go, I'll be there. So let's try to get this done. Thank you.
Thank you, Darlene. Such an exciting program. I'll be sure to share the information. I encourage everyone to do so as well. Any further discussion or questions for Darlene? Seeing none, on adoption of the recommendation is moved, received, and filed. On adoption of the recommendation, all those in favor? I see 11 hands. All those opposed? Seeing none, the matter carries. Further committee reports. Thank you, Darlene.
Good night.
Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Darlene.
Further committee reports. Councilor Riccardi.
The The Committee on Public Health, Safety, Environment co-posted with the Committee of the Whole to whom the matter was referred to the matter of a draft ordinance relative to urban agriculture has considered said matter and would recommend matter stay in committee.
On acceptance of the report, all those in favor? I see 11 hands. All those opposed, seeing none, the matter carries. On adoption of the recommendation, under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll be brief because the update at the meeting was brief. This is still in discussion. It's currently still in discussion with the city solicitor, with the drafted team for the urban agriculture ordinance, as well as the zoning enforcement officer and a few others. I just would love to point out that these were two items that are definitely going to help with our environmental status here in Salem. And I fully support and recommend, if there are any questions, to please join the PHSC committee meeting or reach out for questions on the urban agriculture draft, and I will be more than happy to assist.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, on adoption of the recommendation. All those in favor? I see 11 hands. All those opposed, seeing none, the matter carries. Communications from city officials, none. Petitions.
We have a list of the following license applications for public guides, limousines, and taxi operators.
Councilor Marcello.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that these be granted.
Councilor Marcello moves that these be granted. All those in favor? The 11 hands. All those opposed, seeing none, the matter carries. Further petitions.
We have one license application for taxi operator.
Councilor Marcello.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that this be denied.
Councilor Marcello moves that this be denied. All those in favor? I see 11 hands. All those opposed, seeing none, the matter carries. Further petitions.
We have one drain layer contract operator license.
Councilor Marcello.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that this be granted.
Councilor Marcello moved that this be granted. All those in favor? See 11 hands, saying all those opposed, seeing none, the matter carries. Further petitions.
We have one seaworm license application.
Love the seaworm. They're back. Councilor Marcello.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that this be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs.
Councilor Marcello moves that this be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs. All those in favor? I see 11 hands. All those opposed, seeing none, the matter carries. Further petitions.
We have two claims.
Councilor Marcello.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that this be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs.
Councilor Marcello moved that these be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs. All those in favor? I see 11 hands. Thank you. All those opposed, seeing none, the matter carries. Any more? Unfinished business? None. Anything else? Councilor Sargent.
Thank you, Madam President. Just a quick point of personal privilege. As you've all seen, Councilor Flynn's flying the Greek flag today behind him. Today being the 200th anniversary of Greek independence from the Ottoman Empire. So very important day to the Greek people, and we got the flag to fly down on Raleigh Plaza. I thank you all very much. Imagine 200 years ago, a nation so known for democracy, almost the birthplace of democracy, wasn't free. And so then afterwards, they were free once again. So any freedom-loving person is a little Greek today. So thank you for recognizing that and helping to get that flag put up. Thank you all. And I move for adjournment, as the Greeks would say, good night, Kali Nikta.
Remind me to call my uncle the Karavetsis. Thank you. Councilor Sargent moves for adjournment. All those in favor? I see 11 hands. All those opposed? Seeing none. I move for, we are adjourned. Have a good night, everybody.
Night.